Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Naruto Reincarnate as Slime and build Harem? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content, and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the R0 Tatsid for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. Link in the description. Naruto woke up to a searing pain in his chest and an atrocious headache. As he sat up, he realized he wasn't at the Valley of the End anymore. Rather, some beach near a forest. Did he wake up near Wave Country? It was a random guess Naruto had, considering he had no skill in geography as he never cared to learn or had someone to tutor him on the subject. Then again, it wasn't common knowledge to know where the rivers of the valley would lead. With all his strength, Naruto stood up despite feeling pain around his body. As he approached the water, he noticed his condition wasn't very good. His orange jumpsuit was ripped to shreds with the pants barely being held together, but it was better than being butt naked. At least his shirt also survived along with the necklace Tsunade gave him, though now he was barefoot as it looked like shinobi sandals had fallen apart. Just great, I fight Sasuke and the team just shoves another Chidori into my chest. Next time I'll give 1,000,000 years of pain up his butt when I see him, Naruto thought, hoping he at least weakened Sasuke during their fight. To keep a story brief, Sasuke Uchiha defected to Orochimaru hoping to gain power to kill his brother Itachi. Sasuke had been threatened by the sight of Naruto improving that he refused to acknowledge other strengths. Because Naruto held back and saw Sasuke his brother despite their poor relationship, Naruto let himself be defeated than going all out. Which leaves him out here in the middle of nowhere. Good grief, I think I'd rather have 1,000 years of death cranked up to 1,000,000 than put up with this. Naruto thought as he scratched the back of his head. Then he realized something. I don't think I'm the only one guilty of a perverted jutsu. He said, thinking about Kakashi's perverted jutsu. What is worse? Turning into a naked female, or shoving your fingers up a small child's ass? Naruto shook his head at the thoughts. Whatever, I better find some help. Maybe I can make my way back to the village, he said to himself before heading into the forest. A little while later, Naruto groaned as he still felt the pain from his fight, though he felt that the Kyuubi was already doing its best to heal him. By now it likely already prevented anything serious. Then again, it's not like Tsunade would force him to be in the hospital for an extended amount of time. Naruto understood that Tsunade does it out of tough love and she is the best medic. The issue at hand is actually the fact that Tsunade and Shizen overdo it with the bandages. That, and if Shizen is skilled enough to understand the human body and know the sensitive parts to disable. Why didn't she try using Saban? It's not like Naruto has a skill or ability to block them. Every time she drags him, she ends up tearing a muscle. I think Shizen needs a refresher course. Naruto muttered before hearing some sniffling. Stopping in place, Naruto looked around for the source of the noise. To his surprise, he found a little girl sitting on a log. She was likely around 6 or 7 years old, shorter than the Konohamaru core, and had a blue bob-style haircut. From the looks of it, she was crying as her fists were in eyes. Hey, are you okay? Naruto asked the girl, only to startle her a bit. The girl turned around to see Naruto, only to run towards him and hug his waist. Naruto groaned as he didn't know how to handle crying children, so he let her vent out before calming her down a bit. By the time the girl stopped sobbing, Naruto decided to introduce himself. I'm Naruto, and who are you? Shouldn't you be with your mom or something? Naruto asked the girl. And my name is Wendy. Wendy said in between sobs. I can't find my mama. I woke up this morning and now I can't find her, she said as she tried wiping away her eyes. Well, what does she look like? Maybe I can help you find her, Naruto asked. My mama's name is Grandini, and she's a sky dragon, Wendy answered. Naruto's sweat dropped. You were raised by a dragon? He asked in disbelief. It's true, Grandini raised me ever since I can remember. Please help me find her, Wendy pleaded. Naruto sighed. Well, if you're telling the truth, maybe she's a summon. Can you summon her? He asked. Wendy shook her head. No, Mama is always around. She taught my sky dragon slayer magic, not summoning magic, she said. Magic? Naruto asked as Wendy only made things difficult for him. Let's just find your mama. I'm sure he can explain things. he said as he held out his hand. Thank you, Naruto, Wendy said as she took his hand and followed him. From there, the two would journey all over the land on their search for Grandini, along with directions to Konoha. To Naruto's surprise, every time they found humans, they wouldn't register any knowledge of Konoha. Then there was the fact that a lot of people had different style clothing. Luckily, Naruto managed to get some replacement clothes so long as he helped with some crops as a deal when they went into one of the towns. Luckily, shadow clones greatly helped Naruto with the work. So while Naruto was trying to find ways to get back home along with not looking like a caveman, he also tried finding Wendy's mother, which didn't do much as she was adamant that her mother was a dragon, though it did help that Wendy admitted that Grandini adopted her. Except Wendy got mad when Naruto asked if anyone was missing a child, especially when he approached the orphanages. He defended himself, saying that maybe Grandini could secretly turn human and adopted her as a baby. Wendy wanted to argue, but did see Naruto's ability to transform and disguise himself as another person. So she chalked it off as an advanced technique Grandini wanted to teach her in the future. Even then, nobody could confirm that there was a missing child or an orphanage that registered Wendy as an adopted child. Even worse for Naruto, nobody knew about Konoha despite it being a major hidden village. By then, Naruto was pretty close to giving up and assumed he was on some other country where the shinobi system didn't exist. Without that geography skill, he couldn't confirm if there were other countries that didn't live under the rule of a daimyo or have a hidden village. The real sad part was the same question everybody asked Naruto. If it's a hidden village, then why is it public? Shouldn't its location be a secret? Naruto did wonder why it was called that. Then a lot of other questions popped into his mind, like, if the villages were actually hidden, wouldn't that defeat the chance of gaining clientele to get assignments? He struggled with these questions as Wendy asked about them too, along with chakra, since she never heard of it, and even showed off some of her magic. So it was an interesting journey worth reflecting on for at least 6 months. A few months after meeting Wendy, now the two stood in front of a cave that Naruto opened. It was a wild idea, but Naruto thought it would make sense to check the cave, though Wendy gave him a dirty look when he mentioned that dragons like to live in caves as their dens. You're racist, Wendy said with a glare. How am I racist? Naruto asked her. Not all dragons live in caves. How do we even know Mama is in here? Wendy asked. Do you have proof that your mom isn't in here? Naruto asked as Wendy crossed her arms and pouted. Wendy relented and decided to go with Naruto to explore the cave with hopes of finding Grandini, only to have to run around the various dangers of the cave, ranging from giant centipedes to spiders to iguanas and lots of other creatures that are difficult to describe. Sadly, Naruto only had 3 jutsus in his arsenal to fight back, but they're all weak. Rasengan can't pierce the armor Armosaurus. Shadow clones increase numbers but not strength. Even summoning wasn't useful as he couldn't summon any of the toads for some reason, which made things difficult since all he had left were his kunai and shuriken, which started to go dull. Eventually they did find a dragon. Except it wasn't Grandini. Instead, they were graced with the sight of a giant winged beast hidden behind a transparent barrier. It is very rude to stare, said the massive dragon. Wendy, is that a dragon? Naruto asked as his eyes were wider than dinner plates. Wendy nodded fearfully. By chance do you know where Wendy's mom is? He asked. I think I would know if I have seen another human nearby. However, this barrier limits my movement, the dragon answered. But Wendy's mom isn't human. She's the sky dragon, Grandini, Naruto told him. The dragon laughed so hard that the whole cave shook. Never heard of her, and I haven't seen my kind nearby, he replied. This made Wendy look sad. Let's go, Naruto. I guess Mama isn't here either, she said sadly. Just as Naruto was about to take Wendy back, the dragon lowered his head. Oh? Leaving so soon? He asked in a sad voice. Is he pouting? Naruto asked with a shocked face. Well, yeah, it's not that we don't like you or anything, but we just need to find Wendy's mom, he told the dragon. This caught the dragon's attention. That is strange. I am one of the 4 true dragons, and one of my own adopting a human is a strange concept, he said in contemplation. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the storm dragon, Veldora, he said. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I kind of already introduced Wendy, Naruto said as Wendy nodded. Nice to meet you. Wendy said while trying to be kind. Humph, as if I cared to learn your names. Me, the mighty storm dragon chatting with two lowly human children as if you were my friends. Veldora exclaimed. Naruto and Wendy shivered. Naruto, let's go. Wendy pleaded as Naruto nodded. No, wait. Please don't leave. Stay as long as you like. Veldora pleaded. It was safe to say Veldora wasn't just the storm dragon. He was also the Tsundere dragon. The conversation continued on with Naruto and Wendy explaining their individual situations. Veldora had also stated that he never heard of Konoha, though it didn't help that he was trapped in the barrier for 300 years by a mysterious hero. Regardless, he hasn't heard of the type of ninjas Naruto described of either, or the concept of chakra. Veldora explained that society should still be using magicules, which are the life essence of the world where people use magic. Similar to Wendy, but somehow slightly different since they don't use magic circles. Veldora was even charitable enough to explain how to use magic sense. Which got weird when a voice appeared in Wendy and Naruto's heads. Unique skill, magic sense acquired. Kaya! Wendy shouted. What the heck was that? Naruto asked as they both confused Veldora. Answer. It is the effect of your unique skill, Great Sage. Now that your ability has been established, you will now be capable of reacting more quickly. The voice answered. Hey Wendy, did you hear that too? Naruto asked as the little girl nodded. Is this skill shared? Wendy asked. Answer. It is possible share the same skill, however. It is most likely that you and the one known as Naruto simultaneously activated the skill. Great Sage answered. Naruto, did you hear that? Wendy asked. Hear what? Naruto asked as this now further annoyed Veldora, who felt like he wasn't a part of the conversation. After a couple minutes, Wendy explained that the two now have Great Sage as a skill, which mainly acted as an advisor as well as explaining skills they both now have along with scanning material. They brought in Veldora, who was finally annoyed of being left out. The Storm Dragon stated that their skill might something called the Voice of the World. At least now, the Great Sage could assist them in trying to help Veldora in his situation, which was to break down the barrier as they decided to trust that Veldora was a good person. It was strange and it involved more of Veldora's Tsundere nature. So apparently you can't use magic sense? Naruto asked. Veldora nodded. Yes, the warrior sealed my skills when she used unlimited imprisonment. He answered. Naruto scratched his head as he tried thinking of something. Maybe we can puncture it from the outside with a skill? He asked. I can try using my magic and you can try your sphere thing. Wendy suggested as both skills were slightly different from the magic of this land. You can try, but I have my doubts. Veldora said as he wasn't genuinely mocking them. Okay, I'll go first. Naruto said as he created a shadow clone and started preparing the Rasengan. Let's see if this works. Rasengan! He shouted as he ran up to barrier and slammed his attack. Only for it to take no damage. Let me try. Wendy said as she started channeling her magic and making a small incantation. It took a couple minutes, but when Wendy was ready, she let out a powerful gust of wind from her mouth. Sky Dragon's Roar. She yelled as she let out all she could to attack the barrier. While the attack also failed, Wendy would have collapsed onto the ground if Naruto had not caught her. Nonetheless, Veldora did not look too surprised, rather than having some interest in seeing what powers the two children have. That was pathetic. Veldora berated. Like you could do anything. You can't even use your own powers, you stupid lizard. Naruto yelled as the dragon looked angry. You dare yell at me? The great Veldora. Veldora roared. Yes. Naruto deadpanned. How rude. Veldora said, looking sad. This exchange only confused poor Wendy. Naruto, I think we should try something new, she said as she tried thinking of a new plan. Wendy rubbed her temples as she thought long and hard about what to do. Wait, Great Sage, you're a skill, right? She asked. A unique skill, correct. Great Sage answered. Do you think you can list out the possible skills that could help me free Veldora? Wendy asked. Naruto and Veldora stood and watched as Wendy's eyes started to bug out. All before she gripped her head and whimpered in pain, most likely from an overload of all the information that Great Sage was forcing on her. So Naruto decided to try to scan the barrier again, and see if there was a way to overcome it without using brute force. Do I have any special skills? Anything unique? Naruto asked his great sage. Notice, upon arrival on the island, you've obtained the skill Carnivore. Great sage answered. That sounds cool. What can it do? Naruto asked. Answer, using Carnivore, you have the chance to obtain another skill once you've greatly weakened a foe. Great sage answered as this caught Naruto's interest. However, it couldn't help. Well, I can't do that to a barrier since I can't even harm it. Naruto said to himself, only for Wendy to grin. I think I got an idea. I can eat Veldora, Wendy said as the two stared at her innocent imagination. Wendy, you can't even bite him without getting through the barrier. So how would someone as tiny as you eat Veldora? Naruto asked as Wendy blushed. Great Sage told me I have a skill called Predator. It lets me eat almost anything. Maybe I can try to eat him and store him inside of me, Wendy said before grabbing at the barrier, as Wendy attempted to eat Veldora. The little girl started to shiver before jumping away. Naruto sighed as he also tried to come up with an idea of his own, only to watch as Wendy ran up to Veldora's barrier again. Wendy placed herself against the barrier. Okay, I think this is how I'll do it, she said as she started concentrating. Wendy, hugging Veldora won't help, Naruto said with a blank face. But it does feel like you care, Veldora said, feeling emotionally closer to Wendy. Wendy, what are you doing now? Didn't your skill fail? Naruto asked. It didn't, but I had the right idea. I can still store Veldora away. The barrier rejected me, but it can't force me to move it elsewhere, Wendy said as she started to turn all blue and bubble-like. Wendy, what are you doing now? Naruto asked. Great Sage, can you help me out here? Wendy asked. Answer, taking control and utilizing stomach to store the storm dragon Veldora. Great Sage said. So this way, maybe we can break Veldora free? Wendy asked before turning into some sort of blue goopy moss-like substance that surrounded Veldora's prison. Answer, eventually, the barrier will time out or break, but Veldora will remain alive in the meantime, Great Sage answered. Wendy! Naruto yelled as he tried to pull the moss off, thinking something bad had happened to Wendy. Naruto attempted to pull off the moss as he was confused as to what Great Sage was making Wendy do. This lack of knowledge wasn't too harmful, but would need to be explained later, as even Wendy herself has yet to understand the abilities of all of her skills. However, this resulted in Naruto slowly being taken by the goopy moss, and is slowly being sent into Wendy's stomach. Sadly, it also started taking Naruto with it. Great Sage, stop it. You're taking Naruto away too, Wendy internally said. Notice, Veldora has not been completely stored away. However, the one known as Naruto can be ejected once. Great Sage stopped itself. Great Sage? Wendy called out. Error, detecting parasitic creature in the form known as Naruto. Arachnid subspecies is attempting to fight back. Ejecting immediately to avoid potential death, Great Sage replied urgently as Naruto was spat out, though from the looks of things, Naruto looked exhausted and pale, almost as if Wendy devoured his nutrients. At the very least, he's alive and Wendy thinks she has enough skills to heal him later. For now, she had to worry about finishing up with Veldora and regaining control of her body. At the same time, inside of Wendy, deep within Wendy sat a large dragon that looked more like an avian rather than a lizard. This is the Sky Dragon Grandini, and as in her title, she uses Sky Dragon magic which she passed on to her adopted daughter, Wendy. Her reason for being inside of Wendy was to help her grow and prevent her from transforming into a real dragon. However, it seems that things aren't going according to plan. They seem too far to back on, and it didn't help that she was no longer alone inside of Wendy. It appears that I am not the only one here. Grandini turned her head to see Veldora making his way towards her. Who are you? Grandini asked. I could ask the same thing, as I never seen another dragon such as yourself before. Veldora replied only to feel that something ominous was nearby. In my land, dragons are merely myths. Compared to me, you are both just overgrown geckos with wings. Both dragons now turned to a large fox with 9 tails that approached them. While his size wasn't too intimidating or his power, they couldn't help but to feel anxious about the malice that leaked from him. Now someone explain to me as to why I am now trapped in a little girl, he demanded. Outside, a while later, Naruto woke up coughing to find Wendy standing over him, What happened? He asked the girl. Wendy poked her fingers together and answered, Naruto, I almost ate you. She said. Naruto gave her a disturbed look. What? He asked. Naruto, this is hard to explain. My great sage said that I have this new magic skill. It lets me eat things, so when my body was eating you, it said there was something trying to kill me. Wendy explained. It wasn't the QB, was it? Naruto wondered. Then he remembered Wendy's transformation. Wait, what about your transformation, Wendy? He asked. Great Sage said that I'm a slime, but I don't why. It also called you a spider thing. Wendy answered. Naruto gave Wendy a blank face. I think I would know if I was a spider, since I can't shoot webs. Also, I heard spiders are crazy strong even though they're really small. He said as he stood up. Besides, how are you a slime? He asked. Wendy started to concentrate really hard before her body became blue and squishy as when she ate Veldora, only to transform into a strange blob with eye holes. Naruto was horrified as he immediately tried to pick up Wendy, who started slithering away until she attempted to solidify herself. Naruto, I'm really scared and I don't like this. Wendy yelled fearfully. Naruto nodded. I think it's time to leave this death trap. Can you turn back into a human? He asked. Wendy did as Naruto asked before clinging onto him like a life preserver. Don't leave me alone, okay? She asked as her eyes got watery. Naruto sighed as he stroked the girl's back. I won't. Come on, Wendy. We should get out before things get dangerous, he said as he tried carrying her away. Some time later, seeing as they were still lost in a massive cave full of monsters they were hardly able to fight before, Wendy was given the opportunity to test out her predator skill, which she mostly spent eating plants as most of the monsters scared her. Eventually she did have to try devouring the beasts like she did with Veldora, only after Naruto attempted to learn more about his own skill, Carnivore, which was definitely weaker than Predator but more intense, as it was much more brutal with how it attacked other monsters. Naruto tapped into his new ability and released strange tendrils. Tendrils that were crimson and surrounded the beasts like a spider's web before piercing their flesh and stealing whatever ability Naruto could find. Things were tough at first, but the two eventually got the hang of their abilities, having awakened to them. However, things got intense when they met something much more terrifying than giant insects and random bugs. Wendy, stand back, Naruto warns as he sees a strange canine approaching them. At least it looked like a canine at first. With its dark hair, large snout, the sounds of snarling and large fangs sticking out, only for the beast to appear more demonic as red eyes appeared all over its body and saliva leaked from its mouth. Wendy took her distance, thinking she could at least support her companion as Naruto tried shaping his tendrils into something sharp. Naruto ran at the beast despite his poor taijutsu skills with the intent to gut it as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, while wild and seemingly mindless as it was, the canine-like demonic entity was more intelligent than it appeared and faster as well as stronger, avoiding all of Naruto's attacks as it jumped around with the occasional claw to his back ramming him towards a wall. Naruto would then find himself trying to stab the beast with the tendril only for it to start biting down on his arm, making his scream out in pain. Wendy couldn't take the sight of Naruto being harmed anymore and ran in. Water Blade! She yelled out, trying to hit the canine. The canine jumped away and ran towards Wendy, now perceiving her as a threat. The beast aimed to end her life as well, further making their situation more dire. Sky Dragon's Roar! Wendy shouted as she let out her stored-up magic. The beast stepped back as the attack slightly disoriented and blinded a few of its eyes. That gave Wendy a few seconds to run as Naruto jumped onto the beast's back and tried stabbing it a few times in the eyes, making it bark loudly as it attempted to shake it off by running around and ramming itself into various rocks and walls. Naruto, however, kept trying to stab it until it twisted its head and bit down on his tendril. Naruto fell down as the beast started clawing and biting him. Naruto wanted to scream, but it felt almost like his voice was gone, like he was being forced to accept the fate of being ripped apart by a wild animal. However, while he refused this fate, Naruto wasn't the only one who refused this to be his demise. Unknown location. In what looked to be almost an entirely different world, there sat a man in black armor with a red spider emblem on his chest plate, hair as white as snow to match his pale skin and red eyes to frighten any aggressor. This man was no human or typical monster you would find in fiction or legend. This man narrowed his eyes almost as if he was glaring at someone before opening his mouth, revealing a dentist's nightmare. His long, sharp teeth were wide enough that no one could be sure as to how they all fit into his mouth. None of the swordsmen of the mist could hope to compete with such a frightening-looking chompers. More so, it's not just his appearance that should frighten even the toughest shinobi, for this man leaked power that would frighten a god. A king in black would be one way to describe him, and he did not look pleased one bit. With the slam of his sword he snarled, "Child, is it not enough that those parasitic Otsutsuki are eyeing that world-like piece of meat? That you allow a large dog to devour you?" he asked, sounding displeased. The man closed his eyes before opening them again, leaking the malice within him. "Awaken, child, let the darkness within you flow. For no one who bows before me will yield to a mongrel," he said as several black substances leaked from his body, creating several heads with red swirls to appear all over him. "Kill the mongrel!" the man demanded. With Naruto. Naruto let out loud cough before feeling as if thousands of needles pierced through his skin. As the beast continued to bite down, its barbaric nature stopped right away, soon finding itself with hundreds of tendrils piercing it. The beast snarled loudly in an attempt to break free, only for Naruto to twist and turn violently before his whole face was covered in a crimson mass, with elongated teeth. The beast barked once more before Naruto let out a powerful screech. "Grah!" Naruto shrieked as his arm transformed into an axe and pierced the beast's head. From there, the beast started to shrink to a more simplistic canine form and whimpered before Naruto's new jaw extended and began to swallow the beast. After what appeared to be a bit of a struggle, eventually the beast stopped moving and was completely devoured by the essence coming out of Naruto. After that ended, Naruto started to twitch violently some more before his transformation ended and he reverted to normal. Notice, the beast identified as Baskerville has been added as a familiar. Unique skill poacher unlocked. Great Sage said before Naruto lost consciousness. Wendy nervously walked up to Naruto hoping that Baskerville wouldn't return. Then looking at Naruto's wounds only to see them drastically healing by themselves despite some marks being there. In Naruto's mindscape, deep within the mindscape was no longer a sewer and a cage. Now the fox found itself in what appeared to be a throne room with several cages hanging over him, with Baskerville being trapped in one of them. How strange, it appears that my power is gone here. Yet my mind can travel between the two brats. The fox said as stood up and went to put his attention onto Baskerville. "You are in my domain, you filthy mongrel. You best behave yourself," he told it as it whimpered. A while later, Naruto found himself waking up for a second time, sort of beating himself up over losing consciousness again, only to find Wendy sliding down on him in her slime form. "Big brother," Wendy said, whimpering. Naruto's eyes softened as he held Wendy closer. "Did something happen?" he asked worryingly. Wendy turned human again to give Naruto a teary-eyed look. "Why, you turned I into a goopy monster and you ate the giant monster. I got super scared and thought it changed you," she said before sobbing on his chest. Naruto patted the girls as he tried cooing her. "I think this is enough adventure for you, Wendy. We should leave already," he said as he scooped up Wendy in his arms and started running towards an exit. More time later, after more endless running, Naruto found a pair of steel doors that he couldn't seem to open, only to run and hide behind a rock as he noticed it opening from the other side. Wendy continued whimpering as she thought another monstrous threat was coming. Naruto continued cooing and calming Wendy as he watched whatever entered the cave, only to be surprised by the sight of a few humans. However, Naruto didn't really have much faith in them, seeing he had somehow turned part spider while Wendy is part slime. Once they were out of sight, Naruto dashed for the exit while still holding on to Wendy. Outside, after running away to safety for a few minutes, Naruto ended up stopping upon seeing the sight of a few ragged-looking goblins pointing wooden spears at him and Wendy. Before they said anything, Wendy started whimpering at what looked like a threat, automatically triggering Naruto's new big brother senses. So he immediately transformed his arm into what looked like an axe. However, it appeared that the goblins meant no harm as they immediately got on their hands and knees. "Please don't hurt us. We mean no harm," said the lead goblin wearing a bandana. "Eh?" Naruto asked, now feeling confused. "Goblin village," After the strange confrontation, the goblins invited Naruto and Wendy to their village, under the pretense that they could sense their heavy magical power and were hoping to convince them to fight for their people, mainly due to the fact that they relied on the protection of Veldora since the dragon's energy was so intense that it leaked to the outside and scared away the more threatening monsters away from their settlement. So now that Veldora disappeared, they now have to worry about wolves attacking them, as they have already lost several of their own, including their strongest fighter, Rigger, who was the older son of the village elder. Along with the goblins were another tribe of cat-like creatures called the Exceeds who forged an alliance with the goblin tribe. Unfortunately, they also lost a few of their own in attempt to aid each other against the superior wolves, deeming their threat level as one wolf being able to take on 5 goblins or Exceeds, making the beasts too difficult to handle as their resources and numbers were too low to survive against constant attacks. So now you think Wendy and myself can protect you guys? Naruto asked as Wendy was sitting on his lap. The goblin elder, who was shivering as if he was close to death, nodded. Yes, we can sense your great power, as it's very unnerving, he managed to say in between gasps, but we're not that strong, Wendy said as she admitted that she could kill a few monsters with Naruto's help, but had no confidence in her own abilities. At the same time Naruto went silent and started speaking. Great sage, but you are, the aura around you says otherwise, the elder said without trying to sound rude. Wendy looked confused as to what he meant only to hear Naruto gasp, Wendy, you need to check your magic sense right now, Naruto told her. Wendy looked confused by what he said before doing as he told, then immediately panicking as she saw the giant purple ominous aura she was leaking. After turning red from embarrassment, Wendy worked out a way with Great Sage to disable her giant amount of aura, Naruto doing the same as he still had a chunk of the Kyuubi's essence along with Baskerville inhabiting him. Now the goblins and Exceeds all took a breath of relief once the aura was gone. I forgot about that, sorry, Wendy said smiling sheepishly. Oh, so you were testing us, the elder said happily. Yeah, we were, Naruto said chuckling nervously as Wendy still felt embarrassed. So will you help us? The elder asked feeling hopeful. Naruto looked at Wendy who gave him a confused look before turning into one of determination. It seems that despite being a fearful child in the cave, Wendy was still compassionate and wanted to help however she wanted. Are you sure, Wendy-chan? Naruto asked the little girl. Wendy nodded. We have to help them, big brother. The Exceeds and goblins need us, she said. Naruto sighed as he could see a little bit of himself in Wendy. Okay, Wendy-chan, let's see how we can help, he said, making the girl smile again. A while later, Wendy went with the elder goblin to help with the sick as she had absorbed some herbs to create potions inside of her using a crafting skill she had. So whatever was going to happen, Naruto took the chance to get a look at the land. As a prankster from hell, according to Konoha and the many veteran shinobi who lacked the skills to catch a failing academy student, Naruto, he had experience with traps and various tools, leaving him wondering how to approach the concept of wild animals attacking this settlement. Well, at least they aren't like the Inuzuka dogs. Kiba's mom had the big scary one, Naruto said to himself before further surveying the land. Wait, maybe I have a useful skill too. Hey, Great Sage, he said, calling out to the unique skill. Is there a list of skills you can present me with? He asked. Great Sage then proceeded to bombard him a giant pile of abilities he possessed along with any ability he stole from the creatures he killed, finding most of them useless in terms of setting up traps. Quite a few are unique, but others could use some upgrades. But he did find a few useful skills that could help. Webs seem cool and at least I don't have to shoot them out of my butt, Naruto said as his body was surrounded in the crimson substance. Only this time, instead of turning into a sharp-toothed monster, his face looked more like a mask with white eyes and a giant black spider shape over his chest. It was unique but still felt foreign to him. At least now Naruto felt positive that he could control this form without rampaging. So I guess the webs last only an hour. Might as well test them, Naruto said as he started jumping around and trying different ways to set up a barrier. A few minutes later, Naruto created a decent trap as well as making a wooden barricade to stall any wolves hoping to make their way into the village, along with setting up the right web traps. The tricky part was making them thin enough to be transparent, but still strong enough to catch anyone in their way. That and the web still seemed pretty tough compared to a normal spider. As he finished up, he saw the bandana-wearing goblin from earlier approaching him along with an injured Exceed. "How are things looking, Lord Naruto?" the bandana goblin asked as Naruto revealed his face under the strange substance. "You don't need to give me a title, what's your name again?" Naruto asked. "That's what we keep asking them. This idiot doesn't have a name, but they somehow know how to tell each other apart." The Exceed. "So what's your name?" Naruto asked the injured Exceed. "I'm Panther Lily, one of the Queen's guards." Panther answered. "Okay, so why don't you have a name?" Naruto asked the goblin, who shrugged. "I guess that's how it's always been. But we can communicate with each other just fine. Not even my brother Rigger had a name until a man gave him one." The goblin explained. Naruto sighed. "Well, maybe we can give you all name tags or something later. This is gonna be confusing," he said. Then the goblin looked excited. "Really? You want to name us?" he asked happily. "Yeah, it would really help. It's not too much of a problem," Naruto said as he tested his webbing. "Anyways, how does this look?" he asked. Panther Lily stumbled over to give the traps a good look. "Could use some more fences and maybe we can arm anyone who can fight from behind the fence. I think I have a few ideas for where these threads can go if you have more," he said, unaware that the threads are actually webs. Naruto nodded as he was about to adjust the traps only for Wendy to appear in slime form. "How are things, big brother?" she asked, still declaring Naruto as her new sibling. "Good, Lily here is helping me out," Naruto said as Lily stumbled around and nodded. "You're hurt?" Wendy said. "Yeah, but it's nothing. Lily soon found himself being devoured by Wendy. Wendy spit him out. "Now!" Naruto commanded as Panther Lily was released and no longer wounded. "What the?" "I'm all better," Panther Lily said, sounding shocked. Wendy giggled. "I can heal people faster that way," she said as Naruto patted her slimy head. "Good girl," Naruto said as the group planned out the last details of the traps. Nightfall. The last details were finished and now Naruto and Wendy were standing at the front lines with Exceeds and goblins. All of them had their various spears and bows ready to hit anything that gets too close, preferably wishing to avoid coming into physical contact with the wolves. As they could all see the large pack approaching them, Naruto took a few steps forward as the substance covered his body up to his neck. "Wolves, you have had too much fun here and hurt too many people. I'm giving you this one chance to leave and never come back, or else face the wrath of the great mystical and powerful Naruto Uzumaki 2.0. "And Wendy!" he yelled. "Yeah. Wait, how come I don't get a title?" Wendy asked. "Wendy, you get a title when you're a big girl," Naruto said, making Wendy pout. Unfortunately, it also looked like the wolves did not heed his warning. Then again, unlike the goblins and Exceeds, there was a good chance that they didn't have the same level of intelligence to speak to a human being. So all Naruto received was a loud howl as they all came running at them. "Okay, I guess they're not surrendering." "Wendy, plan B!" Naruto yelled. "Ah!" Wendy shrieked. "That's not plan B," Naruto told her. "Run away!" Wendy yelled. "That's not it either," Naruto said before the substance covered his head. "Fight me!" he yelled as he turned his hand into an axe and waved it around. From years of being bull-headed himself, Naruto knew very well how to be goaded as well as goading others at this point. So it helped that the wolves were just prideful and angry creatures that they started running gung-ho into battle, only finding themselves caught in his webs, with a few lucky ones making it farther only to be shot by the volley of arrows launched by the goblins and Exceeds. Minus the elder, who was too weak in his old age to fire one accurately. The battle itself was close to an end as what appeared to be the wolf pack leader had run past his deceased and trapped pack members, somehow managing to squeeze through the web lines and making his way to Naruto, who taunted him to come close, only to find himself trapped with strings that were a lot more transparent. It wasn't as strong as the webs, but more dangerous as the wolf could feel his flesh being cut. Wendy smirked. "Skill, steel threads," she said, referring to the wires restraining the pack leader. The wolf continued to howl and snarl at the two, leaving Naruto with one option left. "Wendy, close your eyes. Actually, look away completely," Naruto said as he aimed for his hand-shaped axe towards the wolf's neck. Squelch. all howling and snarling along with any sounds a threatening wild animal can make, had ended, leaving canine body and a severed head left. Wendy felt nauseous seeing that up close, whereas for some reason she could handle the arrows killing the other wolves. That didn't stop the remaining pack members as they all proceeded to continue marching their way towards the settlement. Are you serious? Naruto asked before noticing that there weren't enough webs and other traps. Before he could say anything, he saw Wendy go into slime form and devour the pack leader's body, before suddenly transforming into the wolf itself. Skill, mimic successful, Great Sage said in Wendy's head. Dire wolf Wendy then started howling very loudly, menace. She yelled as she let out an ear-piercing howl, while the wolves looked like they had trouble resisting it. They continued to march their way towards them. Wendy was sure she could stop the fighting without any more bloodshed with the menace skill, only to stop once she noticed Naruto's form had taken a mind of its own again, and started shrieking again, while holding its head in pain. Even the wolves stopped and stared as Naruto was running around shrieking and clutching his head. Eventually Naruto just fell on a single knee and stopped shrieking once the effects of Wendy's howling had stopped. When that did happen, the wolves sat down and bowed their heads in respect, apparently showing their sign of surrender before Naruto was dragged into the village to rest. The next day, seeing as the wolves surrendered and were now willing to cooperate with the goblins and exceeds, along with that, Naruto learned that his new form had a bad weakness against sound waves, with fire and electricity also being bad for him, making Naruto whine about being more open to elemental attacks, unlike Wendy, who apparently has great resistance against heat, putting aside the concept of strengths and weaknesses of each other. Wendy had addressed the new situation with the surviving wolves, including the ones that were trapped and kept alive, though Wendy also realized there was an issue with communication, as the goblins could handle speaking to each other but didn't have names. They explained that the elder's son, Rigurd, was named by a mysterious stranger but didn't know where he went, so Wendy offered them a chance to name them, making the goblins feel excited while confusing the exceeds, though the elder did look concerned when Wendy said she would name every person including the wolves. Wendy waved it off, saying she wouldn't care if she got tired, as she really wanted to help. So now, she was sitting on a tree stump as a seat and naming everyone. I'll name you Rigurd, in honor of your son, Wendy told the elder goblin. The elder goblin, now named Rigurd, cried tears of joy. I am so happy to be blessed with a name similar to that of my son. Thank you so much, Lady Wendy, he said, now bowing his head. Wendy giggled. It's okay, and your other son will also be Rigger, in honor of his brother, she said as the goblin with the bandana also started to cry tears of joy. Wendy may be a kid with lots of imagination, but she's bad at naming, Naruto thought as the next person she named was Gobta. This is gonna be a long day, he thought as he watched. 2 hours later, and now Wendy finished with the goblins. Luckily the exceeds didn't need to be named, but both were unaware of the little advantage the goblins had just obtained by gaining names. However, it appeared that Queen Shagat, the leader of the exceeds, had arrived with a newly born kitten. Lady Wendy, seeing as the goblins needed to be named for whatever reason, Queen Shagat said, as the concept also confused her. As a thank you for saving my people alongside our new goblin friends, I would like you to name my child, she says while presenting the newly born kitten. Can I really? Wendy asked excitedly as she gazed up on the kitten's curious eyes. Queen Shagat nodded. It would be a great honor, she said happily. Wendy smiled as she gently pet the kitten's head. I'll call you Carla, she said, noticing Carla's surprised face. That still leaves the wolves, Wendy, Naruto said as the remaining members of the pack eagerly awaited for their own names. Okay, I guess you can be Ranga, Wendy said to the wolf with a star on his head, who wagged his tail happily, just as Wendy turned into a slime again and began to melt, leaving Naruto panicking as he picked up Wendy despite slipping past his fingers. Magic sense, Naruto said as he checked on Wendy's status. Notice, Wendy has exhausted all of her magicules and will now enter hibernation, Great Sage told him. Hibernation? Naruto asked. Until Wendy regains the magicules she's lost. Approximately 3 days, Great Sage answered. Naruto sighed. Well, I'd better put Wendy somewhere safe, he said, looking towards the tribe, who now looked up to him as the figure of authority. A few minutes later, after placing Wendy in some warm blankets inside one of the huts. Naruto stood on a rock to address the confused goblins and exceeds. Okay, since Wendy exhausted herself from battle or whatever, I guess that leaves me in charge. Unless someone is willing to step up, that is. Naruto says as everyone stays quiet. He sighed again. Okay, I guess first order of business is the wolves, he said, noticing the massive amount of them. From the looks of it, there were more or less the same amount of wolves as there were goblins, leaving Naruto with a bit of a risky idea to try. Okay everyone, since we're adopting a new tribe to our community, I guess everyone can partner up with any of the wolves. I guess if there's any extra, you can probably team up with Queen Shugat's guards, Naruto explained, only to see someone raise their hand. Yes? Gobta, is it? He asked. Is mayonnaise an instrument? Gobta asked. Naruto just stared at Gobta with an emotionless face. What the hell does that have to do with anything? Anyways, the answer is no, he said. Gobta then raised his hand again. Horseradish isn't an instrument either, he said, answering the question without hearing it. However, this time, Panther Lily raised his hand. Hey, speaking of instruments, and whatever, why don't we get some real supplies? I mean, I doubt a few wooden fences and spears is enough, he asked. Good point, we also need clothes and other stuff to build more houses, Naruto said, thinking there's more dangerous creatures that aren't as hospitable as the dire wolves. Hey chief, by any chance do you? Okay, who the hell are you? He asked, instead of the sickly elderly goblin chief. Naruto turned around to find a goblin version of David Hasselhoff. It's me, Lord Naruto. I've finally evolved into a goblin lord thanks to Lady Wendy, Rigard said as he started flexing. Okay, new rule. No one is allowed to start bodybuilding out of nowhere, Naruto said, only to turn and witness that every goblin had evolved into a hobgoblin. Clearly my main worry should be insubordination, he said, noticing that just about everyone is bigger and stronger. Even the Exceeds were very confused by what happened. Even more so, Carla suddenly turned into a pink-haired girl with cat ears that looked around the same age as Wendy. Even the dire wolves had started to grow larger despite Ranga, their new pack leader, having been the only one receiving a name. Yup, I smell trouble, Naruto said, unaware of what's happening. 3 days later, Wendy opened her eyes, if you want to call them that, and found herself in the shack, wondering where Naruto is and why she was left all alone. Ah, Lady Wendy, you're finally awake, Rigard said as he entered the room. Who are you? Wendy asked nervously. Rigard chuckled as he flexed. It's me, Rigard. Lord Naruto reacted the same way, he said before Ranga knocked down the wall. Lady Wendy, Ranga said excitedly, only to further frighten Wendy. A few minutes later, Naruto had arrived upon hearing that Wendy had woken up. During this time, Naruto took this chance to learn more about the changes as well as helping the Exceeds and goblins who were now the hobgoblins, along with learning more about his abilities using the strange substance on his body, which he now dubbed as a symbiote. From what little he learned, a symbiote is the work between two sentients that are together, though in this case, the symbiote literally feels like a part of his biology despite seemingly having a mind of its own. Similar to the chakra of the Kyuubi, only no one else is piloting the symbiote despite having gone berserk when fighting Baskerville. Oh yeah, also if you name a monster, they get stronger and evolve. Everyone evolved, even Carla, Naruto said as he led Wendy outside, who witnessed the gathering of the hobgoblins. All of them started to cheer and clap for Wendy as they saw her appear in human form, leaving the girl feeling shy and awkward enough to run behind Naruto's leg in fear. A day later, having adjusted to the society that is the tribe, Naruto had already planned out a trip and waited for Wendy to wake up and settle in first. That, and apparently in her slime form, Ranga accidentally knocked her over a hill and needed to chase her until accidentally falling into a river, where Naruto had to save his adopted sister from drowning. Of course, Ranga apologized profusely for his mistake. Regardless, Naruto had prepared a group to ride on the wolves all the way to Dworgen in hopes of finding an artisan and some workers to help build houses. So with Wendy, Ranga, Gobta, Panther Lily, Rigger and a couple of others, Naruto rode into the distance with his companions towards Dworgen in hopes of building up the village. Bye everyone! Wendy shouted. Bye Lady Wendy! Stay safe! Come back soon! Wendy smiled at the kind words. Hey big brother, do you think Grandini might be in Dworgen? She asked. Hopefully, you can tell her all the stories of all the adventures we've had so far. Naruto said with a foxy grin. Yeah, like the time I became a slime. Wendy said. Yeah, and maybe everyone in my village can learn about what happened to me. Not like I'm gonna care about what they think. So I'm a spider, so what? Naruto asked as the two laughed as they continued to their journey towards Dworgen, leaving it up to fate, destiny, or whatever was waiting for them in their journey. Hey Wendy, what do you think about naming the village? Naruto asked. Sounds like a good idea. I named everyone, so why don't you name the village? Wendy asked. Naruto pondered on the idea. As a child, he wanted everyone to recognize him and respect him. So he wanted to be the Orange Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto. Uzumaki, words for maelstrom and spirals. Naruto never saw himself as a calm and collected person. Like a violent rainstorm would describe him best. Naruto snapped his finger as he came up with an idea. I know. How about Tempest? He suggested. Wendy giggled. I like it, she said as the goblins agreed with the idea. Naruto grabbed onto the bars of his cell and started shaking them as he growled and made a scary face. One that surprised Panther Lily, frightened Wendy, and would have done something to Gobda had he not fallen asleep. Though it's impossible to know how he fell asleep considering how loud Naruto is being right now. You can't keep me in here. I'll break these bars myself. Naruto roared as he literally broke them. Everyone was silent at that point, including the dwarf guard, who just stared at Naruto incredulously at what he had just witnessed. Then he frowned as he walked up to Naruto. You better fix that, he demanded. Sorry, Naruto said as he used his web-like material to put the bars back together. Good, now be quiet. You know why you're here, the guard told him. I was framed. Wendy, tell him what happened, Naruto says as he turns towards the little girl. Big brother, you know very well what happened, Wendy said, recalling why they were in a jail cell. Flashback, less than an hour ago, having taken a long path towards the city of Dworgen. Naruto and Wendy deemed it best to keep their party short as to avoid trouble and suspicion, leaving behind Rigor and the other goblins minus Gobta. Panther Lily was also with them just in case things went south fast. Things seemed smooth despite the long line. Of course, Wendy whined about the long wait and her feet hurting, to which Naruto decided to carry her over his shoulders like the big brother he is, making Wendy feel a bit more entertained from the higher vantage point. Sadly, this was all ruined by a group of thugs that were harassing them. What do we have here? Asked a man with a cross-shaped scar on his head. A cat, goblin, and pair of brats, said another sneer. Shouldn't you be with mommy? Asked a third member, trying to intimidate. Wendy was starting to cry. Jerks. I'll show you what happens when you bully my little sister, Naruto yells as he transforms into the symbiote. Gra! His symbiote form roars. The loud and terrifying appearance did scare the thugs. However, they regrouped and revealed that they had a mage with them. Apparently they were waiting to start conflict despite being in front of the gate of a small kingdom. Attack all at once, the lead thug said as they started unleashing all their magic onto Naruto. Ah crap. I wish something bigger and more terrifying was here, Naruto thought as the spells were about to hit him, only for Great Sage to step in. Skill, familiar summoning. What? Naruto asked when suddenly a part of his face and right side of his body transformed. Boom asterisk. The thugs laughed, thinking they heard Naruto, while Wendy and the others grimaced. Yet Naruto stood tall and took the attack like a champion. Except now it appeared that Baskerville was back and sneering at thugs with all his red eyes narrowing at them. Go Baskerville! Sick M! Naruto commanded as the dog growled. Run! They shout when it was already too late. Baskerville scooped them up in his mouth and started chewing. Although it appeared that they were too disgusting and prompted the demonic canine to spit them out into the sky, far enough to where they were merely a twinkle in the sky. Big brother Naruto did it. Wendy cheered as Panther Lily and Gobta smiled. Sadly, the party ended once a guard arrived. You four are under arrest, he said. Naruto looked gobsmacked. What? Why? he asked as Baskerville was still attached to his body. The guard sighed. It would be more simple to tell you that no pets are allowed. He said, Hey! Panther Lily takes offense to that. Naruto yelled angrily. He was not talking about me, idiot. Panther Lily responds angrily. End of flashback. Naruto glared at the guard. So it's illegal to bring dogs. I thought this was America. He said. What's America? Wendy whispered over to Panther Lily. I don't know. Panther Lily whispered back. The guard sighed at Naruto. This is not America. This is Dworgen. He said. Naruto growls in response. Well now this is Sparta. He yells as he kicks the cell door down with a symbiote-enhanced kick. I am going to charge you for that. No joke. The guard said. Sorry. Naruto said again as he used his webbing to fix the cell bars. While Naruto was being annoying, another guard arrived in a panic. Kaido. We have a big problem. Garm and the other miners got attacked by an Armosaurus. He said. Oh no! Those boys are like brothers to me. But what can we do? We're low on potions. The guard named Kaido said, when suddenly Naruto had an idea. Hey, we can make some potions. He said. Kaido gave him a suspicious look. I don't have time for any more of your insanity. Be quiet and you won't be here so long. He said. No, really. Wendy here can make some potions. She just needs a barrel of water. Naruto said as Wendy turned into a slime and nodded. Kaido and the other guard looked at each other before nodding. Fine, you get this one chance and only one chance. He said. A few minutes later, Wendy got her barrel of water and went inside it. Upon resurfacing, she revealed that the barrel was filled with the same material used for potions. Is this enough? Wendy asked. Kaido looked dumbstruck. Yes, this will work perfectly, he said as he and the other guard ran off to help the Minders. Good girl, Naruto said as he rubbed Wendy's slime form. The girl giggled as she transformed into her human form and hugged her brother figure. Both patiently waiting as Kaido came back a while later with the miners who were injured. These guys? The lead dwarf asked. Yeah, Garm, the little girl here can turn into a slime and made that potion. Kaido answered. Really? We owe you our lives, little girl. Garm said as Wendy blushed from the praise. It was nothing. Wendy said, feeling a bit embarrassed from the praise. It was something. You're a hero, little girl, said another dwarf just as Kaido started opening the cell door. Kaido gave them a smile full of gratitude. Well, I suppose that should count as a pardon for a small sentence. Though if you have any requests, please speak up, he said. Naruto grinned. Actually we do. By chance do you know any blacksmiths in town? He asked. Kaido nodded. Sure do. My brother Kaijin works as one, and he's pretty good too. Let me write down his address, he said as he left to grab some paper. Meanwhile Panther Lily stared at Gaota, who was still sleeping. Shouldn't we wake him up? He asked. Naruto shrugged. We can come back for him, he answered. Later, Dworgen. Now that they finally left that stupid prison cell, Naruto's group looked around the city, being rather surprised by how nice it looks despite everything looking like it was underground or inside of a cave. Try not to get distracted. Remember why we're here, Panther Lily said as Naruto looked at the address Kaido gave him. I think it's down this way, Naruto said as he found the shop with the sign that Kaido described. Here it is. Let's see what we can do to convince him to join us or at least get some deal going on with him, he said as all three walked in. Once inside, they were met with the sight of a bearded dwarf hammering away on an anvil, with the obvious observation that he's clearly getting a bit tired from all the hard work. No doubt a sign of the man's effort, and likely how much quality he puts into his work. A really useful skill Naruto wouldn't mind adding to the village. Hi there, Naruto said. And who might you be? The man asked. I'm Naruto, this is Wendy and Panther Lily. A guard named Kaido said you were the best blacksmith in Dworgen. Naruto answered awkwardly. Kaido? I wonder why you ran into him, he said suspiciously. Kaido was a guard after all. Anyways, I'm Kaijin and I would say that I'm a pretty good blacksmith. Though if you're here to order, I'm a bit busy at the moment, Kaijin said. Naruto sheepishly scratched the back of his head. Well, I was hoping to hire a blacksmith for my village. Seeing as we need some weapons to defend ourselves, he said, before Kaijin could respond to Naruto's request. The door opened revealing Garm and his 2 other brothers. Hey Kaijin, how? Hey, it's you 3. Garm said happily. You know them, Garm? Kaijin asked with a raised brow. We sure do, they saved our lives. We would have been dead had they not made those potions, Dord said, speaking up for the first time. Then the bold brother, MYRD, nodded silently but gave them a thumbs up. Say something, Naruto said, but everyone ignored him. I see, well, any friend of Garm is a friend of mine, Kaijin said, sounding more friendly. Though the brief happiness was gone, unfortunately I might have to push back such a request, he said. Wendy pouted. Why is that, Kaijin-san? She asked. Kaijin sighed. This is the reason, little girl, he said as he wielded up a well-crafted sword with a rainbow-colored light coming from it. I've been hired to make several of these beauties and the deadline is in a few days. Not to mention, I lack the materials, he said. Wendy looked at Naruto. Can I check, big brother? She asked. Sure thing, Wendy, Naruto answered as Wendy revealed her slime form. Appraisal, Wendy said as she saw the listed contents of the sword's materials. This girl is a slime? Kaijin asked. It's a long story, Panther Lily said when Wendy vomited out a colorful stone. Kaijin and the other dwarves looked with awe as they witnessed the stone come out of Wendy. Kaijin gently lifted up the stone and studied it carefully. When he realized that this is the exact material he needed to create the swords and fulfill his order, Kaijin then gave Wendy a bright smile. Thank you, little Wendy. This is exactly what I needed, he said. Does that mean you can help us when you're done? Wendy asked excitedly. That still doesn't solve his scheduling issue, Panther Lily said, making Wendy depressed again. Kaijin nodded sadly as well. He's right, even with the proper materials and tools, it takes a couple of days just to make one sword, he said. However, Naruto also had an idea. Wendy, do you think you can duplicate the sword with the materials you have stored inside? He asked. Wendy giggled. I can try, she said before jumping onto the sword and absorbing it. Hey! Kaijin worked all day on that. You shouldn't. Garm didn't finish his sentence as Wendy jumped back down and vomited exact duplicates of Kaijin's swords. Everyone minus Panther Lily and Naruto stared at Wendy in shock as she produced multiple copies of the sword, with Kaijin giving each one a detailed examination, only to laugh as he confirmed that each one was as genuine as the original. Though he did look saddened for a brief moment. It took me days just to work the first one. Yet the little slime girl created more in a couple of minutes, Kaijin said solemnly. So? I wouldn't have made anything, Kaijin. You're amazing. Because without you, those swords wouldn't exist, and they're the way you wanted them to be made, Wendy said, cheering the man up. I guess you're right, little Wendy, Kaijin said, rubbing her sticky surface until she returned to human form. Panther proceeded to pick one up. A good sword in my opinion. I wish I had one like this, he said, waving it around. You fancy yourself a swordsman? Kaijin asked as he didn't really see the short cat as a warrior type, only for the Exceed to transform into a more muscular and taller form, where he proceeded to show off his own kenjutsu skills without harming anyone or damaging anything, right before tossing the sword in the air and landing perfectly onto a weapons rack as he changed back. Okay, I guess he is one, Kaijin said with a shocked face. Even the silent dwarf, MYRD, had his mouth gaping wide. I know, MYRD, you don't have to freak out about it, Kaijin says, as if MYRD actually said something. He didn't say anything, Naruto exclaimed, only to be ignored, with the work out of the way. I say we celebrate, Kaijin said, earning some cheers. Some sort of cabaret. Naruto's sweat dropped. What is this place? He asked with squinted eyes. Kaijin laughed. It's a nice place where you will feel welcomed, he said, by the lovely elven women. Garm whispered. Naruto blushed. I forgot this is some weird magical place, he thought. Wait, I can't go. I'm a minor, he yelled. The boys waved it off. Your occupation doesn't matter. No one will judge, Kaijin said as Naruto was dragged in. Meanwhile, Panther Lily decided to wait outside and keep Wendy from ruining her own innocence, though he had to answer the uncomfortable questions that Wendy would give him. making the former high-ranking royal guard of Queen Shagote feel angry at Naruto for leaving him with babysitting duty. Inside, "Welcome, masters," said the beautiful elven women of various shapes and sizes. Naruto was completely red-faced. Hello, he said, now understanding how Hinata feels. I guess social anxiety is hard for her. Poor girl, he said, thinking he owes Hinata lunch, though to be fair, upon realization when he thought of Hinata, he came to a conclusion that Sakura was unique with her hair and eye color, but was pretty much as unique as cardboard. For elven women were the pinnacle of beauty in his opinion. Naruto could hardly see if they wore heavy amounts of makeup like the whorehouses Jiraiya visited or carried a heavy amount of nasty perfume like the women at those bars. It's like these women were classy or something and took care of their appearance. Even better, they weren't like the fangirls from Konoha. Most likely because they mature females that weren't trained, at least Naruto hopes they weren't, to be soldiers that disregarded training to chase boys. I think Sasuke's team wasn't gay after all. His tune would definitely change if he saw pretty girls like these. Naruto thought as he imagined Sasuke ignoring the girls for looking so plain in his academy. Sit with me, master. You must be a unique dwarf to have brightly colored hair, said an elf that dragged Naruto to a seat. Actually, I don't even know what I am, Naruto muttered before being sat down. A few minutes later, after being surrounded by more beautiful women, Naruto soon found one of them feeding him some fine alcohol. Sadly, while the QB was in him and Naruto did absorb some unique skills, none of them had the power to flush toxins like alcohol, prompting the boy's face to go red already. Even when drunk, Naruto tried to offer Kaijin a job at the village to be their blacksmith, which he sadly declined, but was still willing to work out a deal to help them with weapons and other supplies to help the village prosper. After that, they decided to continue to celebrate this new friendship by force-feeding Naruto more alcohol, to which he was very sure he was about to lose consciousness due to his weak tolerance. Lightweight, George shouted before everyone burst into laughter. Too weak, must escape. Naruto muttered only for one of the girls to shove his face into her bosom. Ah, but you've been so kind, master. Can't you stay a little longer? One of the girls asked with a pout. I won't have much time on this world if I can't breath, Naruto whispered as his need to survive outweighed any potential perverted thoughts coming to his mind. A few minutes later, a taller dwarf with a beard came walking by the group, with a face looking very smug as he drank his glass of alcohol. Kaijin balled his fists as he recognized the man who he loathed greatly. Well, if it isn't Kaijin and the others, the man said, pretending not to know their names. Vesta, Kaijin said with a glare. Shouldn't you be working on my order? Vesta asked, revealing that he gave Kaijin the unreasonable order for all of those swords. Not really, I finished ahead of schedule, Kaijin answered nonchalantly. You only have less than a week, so I recommend. Record scratch sound effect asterisk. Vesta blinked twice and stared at Kaijin with shock. What do you mean you finished ahead of schedule? He asked, sounding peeved. Kaijin nodded as his eyes were closed. As I said, Vesta, the swords are ready and in perfect condition. You're free to pick them up whenever you wish, he said, expecting a hilarious reaction. Vesta was hoping to make a fool out of Kaijin by ordering all of those rare swords, mainly because alongside the swords, Vesta requested 200 spears which Kaijin had already finished but had issues finishing up the swords. They were made of magisteel and was lucky enough Wendy gave him the materials anyways now that the order was finished. Vesta took a deep breath and composed himself as to not make a scene. I see, very good then. Though, I can still see you are hanging about with ruffians. Like this boy here, he said as Naruto was ready to lose consciousness. Isn't he a bit young to be here? He looks like a child, he said as the girls and men now looked nervous. I'm a miner. I dig for rocks and stuff, Naruto said as he gently stood up. As he struggled to stand, he pointed at Vesta's forehead. You could never appreciate the value of hard work? Yeah, hard work. Just like how I value these ladies for accepting me as a guest and my good friends for letting me tag along, he explained, making the party smile at his kindness. Though Vesta knew Naruto meant to say minor as in someone below age of consent, or age to be considered an adult. Yet he somehow twisted the homophone to sound like minor, as in someone who digs for, or like Garm and his brothers. A/N, for my non-English speaking audience, minor and minor sound the same, so you shut up with your dumb face and dumb beard that I totally wish I didn't have. Naruto stopped for a moment to wipe his face and thank this kind man for his hard work, along with apologizing to these fine, beautiful, and kind ladies for disturbing them. Naruto said as he continued to stumble and slur. Vesta remained silent, not in admiration for the boy's words or understanding what he meant, only doing so because of how little he cared for what this boy had to say. Boy, do you know who I am? Of course not. I am a minister and second in command of the Engineer Corps. I will not be talked down by. Naruto proceeded to rub the back of his index finger with his other index finger. The gesture was sudden and confusing, as Vesta had no idea what Naruto was trying to do. What are you doing now? Vesta asked, sounding annoyed. Shame. Naruto answered. Wha? Shame. I don't. Shame. Are you? Shame. The party sweat dropped and Naruto kept rubbing his finger in the gesture of shaming Vesta. It ended once Vesta raised his glass over Naruto's head, before slowing pouring the alcohol on the blonde's head and letting it leak down from there. Hey, that's mean. Someone has to clean up, and it's not going to be me. Naruto said, starting to regain some of his senses. To think you've fallen so low, Kaijin. Though it's not a surprise to see you hanging out with a ruffian like this. Vesta said before laughing. Before the cocky man realized it, Kaijin punched him hard enough in the face to cause him to hit the ground. You can mock me all you want, but don't think you can mock my minor friend over here. For he's done more good in an hour than you have done during our entire partnership. Kaijin yelled angrily. What are you talking about? Aside from scaring some bandits, all I did was nice things and encourage Wendy. Naruto asked as he started to stumble again. Ignoring that, Vesta continued to take hits to the face, with Vest trying to fight back and failing, with all the elven girls panicking as the fight broke out. Before anyone realized it, the fight ended once a gruff-looking muscular man broke his glass over Vesta's head. That guy was annoying, the gruff man said. Kaijin took a deep breath. Not that I'm not glad, but I never expected to see you here of all places, Logan, he said to the gruff man. All the other bars are closed, and the girls won't give me dirty looks, Logan replied. Suddenly Vesta started to sit up. You are all going to hear from my attorney and... Zip asterisk. Vesta was suddenly glued to the floor by a black web. Woohoo! I love this place. Up top, Naruto said as he wanted Logan to high-five him. Do you know this kid? Logan asked. He's a good friend. He and his little girl work together to save Garm and the boys. He even... Burp asterisk. Naruto collapsed onto the ground and blacked out. Logan and Kaijin's sweat dropped at the sudden action, though their real concern was the fact that the guards showed up wondering what was going on. Outside, Kaido sighed. Really, Kaijin? You and the new guy? This isn't even the first time I arrested him, he said as the other guards dragged Naruto. As the dwarves, Logan and Naruto were taken away, Wendy and Panther Lily followed after them. Cells. Naruto woke up after being splashed with a lot of water. GHH. What the heck? He yelled. Wake up, kid. We're in jail, Logan said as he put the empty barrel of water away. Again? Naruto asked with a shocked face. What do you mean again? Kaijin and Logan asked. Suddenly Gabda, who was still hanging, woke up. Boss, where am I? He asked. Big brother. Naruto turned his head to see Wendy and Panther Lily outside the cell. Wendy, I was framed, Naruto said, crying anime tears. Actually, if we were honest, this one was on me, Kaijin said as he lowered his head. Kaijin, don't blame yourself. Somehow, though I can't remember, this is my fault, Naruto replied, also sounding sad. Kid, you stood up to that asshole Vesta. You were drunk but didn't do anything wrong, Logan said. Then Wendy looked sad. Big brother, I'm scared, she said. Naruto sighed as he reached for Wendy's head. Don't worry, Wendy, I have faith and we'll get out of this. I have a plan, he said. You do? Logan asked as he raised a brow. Yeah, I'll stay quiet and let the smart guy do all the talking, Naruto says as everyone face faults. What kind of plan is that? Logan demanded. If I said anything, I might make things worse. Naruto said, only making them feel more hopeless. Before anyone else said anything, a dark-skinned woman with white hair appeared. Upon arrival, Logan grunted and turned away as if he were embarrassed for some reason, which did confuse Naruto, as Logan seemed to be a tough guy with no sensitive side. The woman sighed as she reached the bars. How did you get yourself in here, Logan? She asked. Logan grunted again before answering. I got involved with helping others, Ororo. He said, surprising the white-haired woman. He broke a beer jug over Vesta's head. Kaijin said as Logan snarled. Ororo sighed. And your friends? She asked as she looked at Wendy and Naruto. I'm Wendy and this is Naruto. He's like my big brother, and Panther Lily here is another friend of ours. Wendy said, earning a giggle from Ororo. I see. Now why is your friend in a jail cell, Wendy? Ororo asked. Actually, I think they only took him because he was with us and assumed he was involved in our scuffle. Kaijin said, looking sheepish. Naruto for his part looked confused. I got dragged and met pretty girls. Then a lot of alcohol fell into my mouth. I can't remember anything else or why I smell. He said before more water was dumped on him. Hey! He yelled angrily. The other dwarf brothers shrugged as they thought Naruto wanted a bath. After all that alcohol did smell bath. Clearly Vesta had a very bad taste in drinks, and decided to dump it on Naruto much to his dismay. Wendy on the other hand didn't care. I wanna come in. I don't want to leave you, Naruto, she said sadly. Naruto looked sad as he saw Wendy get teary-eyed. Hold on, he said as he ripped off the cell door and pulled Wendy in. Then closing the cell door again, there, now we won't separate, he said as Wendy giggled. Is he always like this? Ororo asked Panther Lily. I think he is. Panther Lily nodded. The next day, courthouse. The day came quick and the boys along with Gobta were put onto trial, where the judge was actually the king of Dworgen himself, King Gazel Dworgo, and like Vesta, he really was a dwarf but apparently had the capability to grow to the height of a human man. You may begin the proceeding, Gazel said in what was literally the lowest voice Naruto ever heard. Your Majesty, the case is between Lord Vesta, who was brutally assaulted by the combined might of Kaijin, Logan, and this blonde boy. The prosecutor said as Vesta was wearing a cast and a lot more bandages, clearly faking it, and what they didn't know was that the prosecutor was bribed and was already on the side of that greedy nobleman. Although Gazel himself started realizing this and was not pleased. Clearly because of how the prosecutor was one-sided and made Vesta look like an innocent victim who was ambushed, as the prosecutor skipped many details and made contradictory statements. And what does the defense have to say? Gazel asked. Naruto cleared his throat. My name is Ain's old gown, he said in a low voice. Suddenly Gazel panicked and started crawling backwards to the point he fell off of his chair. Tell the truth, he demanded. Naruto's sweat dropped at the reaction. My name is Naruto, he said as Gazel calmed down. From there, Naruto told the parts of the story he could remember, with letting Logan and Kaijin admit that they did attack Vesta. Though what he did was not really forgivable, Gazel still had to uphold the law. It was tough love, but it was more fair than what the boys deserved. That is, unless Kaijin accepted the offer Gazel had in mind. Kaijin, I see you are doing well for yourself, Gazel said, speaking to Kaijin on a personal level. That I am, Your Majesty, Kaijin replied respectfully. Have you considered returning to the engineering corps? Gazel asked. Kaijin was silent for a moment, but his face showed no expression other than seriousness. Almost as if he pondered what he wanted to say next, either thinking about the offer or thinking of how respond to the offer. I have no such consideration. In fact, I've been offered a job offer outside of Dworgen, Kaijin said, surprising most of the court. I see then. I now believe I have made my final decision, Gazel said as Vesta was internally smirking. Only for Naruto to ruin it. Wait. You haven't heard from the witnesses, he yelled out. Logan lifted up the boy by the head despite being handcuffed. I thought you would stay quiet, he asked angrily. Despite being in a lot of pain, Naruto had something to say. Your Honor, during this event, that guy over there hurt a lot of people, he said, pointing to Vesta. That is an outrageous lie, Vesta yelled. It's an outrageous truth. They're all here but turned invincible, Naruto said as everyone's sweat dropped. Invisible? Gazel asked. That's right, everyone needs to close their eyes for like 5 seconds, and you can see them after you open them up again. Naruto explained. Everyone remained silent at the stupid suggestion. For some reason Gazel did it anyways. So once they were open, he never noticed the army of shadow clones appeared and turned into random civilians that were injured. The chains and handcuffs were anti-magic, so this wouldn't be possible, but chakra was slightly different in the sense of creation, while the principle was the same. So now the king of Dworgen found his court surrounded by angry people. He pushed a guy in a wheelchair. He spat on my baby. He glued my cousin to a train. He glued my train to someone's cousin. He is a communist. Then suddenly one that looked like Vesta appeared. I am also the real Vesta and I feel no pain, just like I feel no remorse. For example, the fake Vesta broke a chair over the real Vesta, who let out a shriek of pain. See? I'm evil, aren't I? He asked. Gazel sighed, for I do not understand how you did that without access to magic. I already made my decision. Kaijin and those participating in last night's incident along with their guests are hereby banished from Dworgen. They will be given 2 hours to pack their belongings and leave, he said. Everyone including Logan was escorted out with Naruto yelling something out again. Panther Lily! Dictate my will! I'm giving it all to my family! He yelled. You're not dying! Panther Lily yelled as he followed them out, leaving behind everyone else in court who wondered why Naruto was so dramatic. After they were gone, Gazel decided to confront Vesta and see as to why he let his title and position corrupt him. Once, Vesta was a kind and charitable person and a close friend to Kaijin back in the day when they worked together. 2 hours later, Naruto sighed. I'm useless, aren't I? I didn't even find an artisan. He muttered as Wendy patted his back. It's okay, big brother, the big city isn't meant for us. Wendy said as Panther Lily was still annoyed. That didn't mean we had to get kicked out. What even happened in there? Panther Lily asked angrily. I can't remember. I got drunk and everything else was a blur. Naruto yelled back. We already said what happened, bub. It's already in the past. Logan said, appearing behind them alongside Kaijin and the other 3. Wendy smiled at the group. Are you guys coming too? She asked. Logan looked away at the adorable child. Yeah, I guess Kaijin here wants to accept the job offer and I could check the place out too if you'll let me, he said. Wendy giggled. Can he come too, Naruto? He asked. Naruto tried not to look at the imposing man. Sure thing, Wendy, he said. Don't think I'm letting you go alone now, Logan, said another voice. Everyone turned to see Ororo had also packed up as well. You're joining us too, Miss Ororo? Wendy asked. Ororo giggled at the girl's excited face. Of course, little Wendy, someone has to babysit this one, she said, tapping Logan on the shoulder. I'm not a brat, Logan said angrily. Suddenly a man with blue skin teleported to the center of the group. Don't be so shy, Logan, he said. What the heck is that? Naruto asked as he jumped in surprise. The man chuckled. I am Kurt, a friend. A pleasure to meet your acquaintance, he said with a bow. We're bringing Blue Boy too, Logan asked with an annoyed face. Kurt chuckled. Here, I thought you would miss me, Logan. Though, it wouldn't be too much of a hassle for me to tag along, would it? He asked. Naruto shrugged. Hopefully you can keep up. We already have a couple of guys waiting for us in the woods, he said. Who? Everyone from Dworgen asked. With the hobgoblins. A couple minutes later, Rigger laughed nervously. So, how did this happen, Gobta? He asked. Gobta looked confused. I have no idea, he said. Luckily they had enough wolves to share. Though Naruto decided to ride with Wendy while some of the goblins paired up on the same wolf. The brothers shared one and proved that the Tempest wolves were tough and capable of carrying them. Logan hesitantly got on one as Ororo hanged on to him. Kurt for his part was pretty fast and just relied on his teleportation but couldn't carry too many people with him. So they had to go the long way back home. So what is this place like? Logan asked. We just started rebuilding after making peace with the wolves. So it's a bit underdeveloped, Naruto answered. I'm sure we can work something out. A few buildings and defenses would be a good change of pace, Kaijin said, sounding optimistic. Some more time later, Tempest was still about another day away and it was already getting late, meaning it would be time to seek out or build a shelter. However, much to everyone's surprise, they saw a nearby settlement with sounds of life. Leading the way first, Naruto took Rigor and Panther Lily to see what was going on, only to be surprised by the sight of a lovely woman with short pink hair and green eyes sitting on a pig with a large dinner table. "Welcome, travelers. I see that the many of you have traveled far. I suppose you must be exhausted," the woman said in a friendly tone. "I don't trust her," Naruto whispered. "Me either," Panther Lily replied in agreement. The woman giggled. "You are free to stay or leave. Either way, it wouldn't be such a good idea to leave on empty stomach or continue traveling under less than safe conditions," she said, still sounding friendly. Naruto huddled up with the boys. "What if it's a trap? I'm starving, my head hurts, I'm really tired, but I don't want to get poisoned or locked away again," he said. Rigor's sweat dropped at the statement. "I have no idea what happened to you, Lord Naruto, but while I have faith in our strength, perhaps we should at least avoid showing hostile intent," he suggested. Panther Lily nodded. "We can try to be professional and best case scenario, Logan can smell if anything happens and that Kurt guy can help us plan an escape," he said. The woman's sweat dropped at how loud their ramblings were. "It's fairly rude to speak of others while in their presence," she said. Naruto broke the huddle. "We humbly accept your offer, pretty lady," he said. Panther Lily kicked him in the shin. "Don't be calling women that," he said, berating Naruto. The woman giggled as she quickly grabbed Naruto's arm. My, so forward with the compliments. "However, my name is actually Circe of Okeanos, and what might be the name of my maturing guests?" she asked. "Naruto Uzumaki, ramen connoisseur and future Hokage. These are my friends, Rigor and Panther Lily," Naruto said. "We also have a few more friends waiting for us too. Would it be okay if they came?" Rigor asked. Circe nodded and gave him a warm smile. "Of course, I love company," she said. As Circe led Naruto away, the other two left to gather the group and hide the wolves in their shadows. Meanwhile, Naruto really felt odd, as if he could sense the happiness and excitement leaking off of Circe, when it started to feel a bit sour, almost as if there was some slight malicious intent. Though all he could see was her ever-present smile as she led him to the massive dinner table. "I hope you enjoy your stay, Naruto," Circe said. "I hope so too, Circe-chan," Naruto replied, as he still sensed that malicious intent from Circe. This sense was unique, and it was different than killing intent. As if he could sense emotions or the energy someone leaks. It was difficult to describe, and Naruto was almost sure it was his strange spider power. Like some sort of spider sense. Circe's dinner. The group arrived and took their seats, some more eager than others to accept free food and shelter for the night. Though some, like Logan and Panther Lily, were very suspicious, almost as if this was one of those heartwarming moments you see in a movie or find in a book. Then you learn that the host of the dinner is a cannibal or satanic worshipper. For now, those theories were far-fetched, but that didn't mean Circe was already trustworthy. "Welcome all, it's been a while since I've had guests, so I hope you all enjoy your stay," Circe said in a friendly manner. "Thank you, Miss Circe," Wendy said, happily trusting the woman. "You are welcome, my little piglet," Circe said gratefully. The pink-haired woman reached Wendy's head, hoping to give the adorable little girl a little pat on the head, only to find Naruto's hand grabbing her. Circe looked surprised but didn't feel hurt or hostile. For some reason Naruto grabbed her, but it appeared to be out of reflex, yet there was no sign of hostility. "Sorry about that. I guess I get nervous around pretty girls," Naruto said as he gently removed his hand. The grab was out of reflex, but Naruto managed to stop his hand, as if it were alive, which kind of confused him since he thinks that as a human, his whole body is alive. Was that instinct? Naruto mentally asked himself. Answer: the instinct you felt is actually a part of the passive skill, Spider Sense. Any and all negative intention directed at you will be immediately detected. Great Sage said to him. So I can tell who's good or bad? Naruto mentally asked. Answer: morality will not be taken into account. By restraining the creature known as Kyubi no Yoko, you have mixed its sensory with your instinct as a spider. You will only detect negativity and only react towards danger. Great Sage answered, as Naruto communicated with Great Sage. Circe couldn't help but blush at the compliment. Such a sweet comment. Though I wish older men had the same. Circe said out of appreciation. With that, everyone started digging into their food, but not without a few people looking cautious. Like Logan subtly smelling his food as he had the nose of a hound, Kurt took a bit longer to prepare and Panther Lily pretended to drop his fork twice. Meanwhile Naruto extended his arm and revealed a sort of black limb that moved between Logan and Panther Lily. The food's great. I trust her completely, Naruto said from his side. Meanwhile the limb turned into a mouth. I don't trust her. The voice of Naruto whispered. I feel so happy. Naruto said. I feel so anxious. The voice said. I feel like there is nothing wrong. Naruto said. I feel like something is very wrong. The voice said. Then how do you really feel? Panther Lily asked while trying to keep under a whisper. The mouth briefly moved up the table almost as if it could peek. I seriously can't feel anything wrong, but I got this weird sense of danger, he said. Logan nodded. I know, smelling and tasting the food was a big risk. It's fine, but I felt like she put something. Not something extreme like poison, but something is in there, he said, relying on his healing factor to save him if anything happens. Then Circe appeared. Something wrong, boys? She asked as the mouth slid back towards Naruto. Nothing, just admiring the cooking and the company, Panther Lily said while trying to hide his sweat. The dwarves nodded. I haven't had a decent meal like this in a long time, Kaijin said happily. It sure is. If getting fired meant fine dining, I would have screwed up a long time ago, Garm said, also sounding happy. Couldn't say it better myself, Dord added. MYRD just nodded in silence while giving a thumbs up. Say something, Naruto exclaimed, only to be ignored. Circe giggled. I appreciate your comments. I'm sure you will be more than happy to feel rejuvenated with the nutrients in my food, little piglets, she said. Naruto flashed his toothy grin as to hide the giant throbbing vein on his forehead. His spider sense screaming at the top of its lungs if it had any. The problem being that he didn't know if Circe was about to do something or if she's responsible for something about to happen. After having his conversation with Great Sage, he knew that his skill could literally go off at any moment so long as it meant danger was here. More please and thank you, Wendy said as Circe smiled. Anything for you, my little piglet, Circe said with a sweet sickly smile. Before anyone realized it, Dord started to panic. Everyone stood up as they noticed the dwarf grew hooves, a snout, and a spring-shaped tail. In a matter of moments, Dord squealed and turned into a pig with Kaijin and his brothers following suit. Logan snarled as 3 metallic claws came out of both of his knuckles. He then turned to Circe with an angry face. What is this, lady? He demanded to know. Circe giggled. Nothing, just feeding my piglets. You are what you eat after all, she said, pretending that nothing wrong was going on. Kurt teleported away as Logan ran after Circe, only to turn into a pig as well, with most of the group doing the same. Even Wendy panicked as she turned into a real piglet. Big brother! Wendy cried out only to see Naruto's symbiote going off. Naruto panicked as he transformed while forcing his symbiote form to combat the transformation. In the end, the transformation was mostly a success, as Naruto turned pitch black with white armor-like patches around his body similar to armor, and 2 big tusks sticking out. Naruto's eyes were completely white, and in a unique shape similar to his regular symbiote form. Skill, Transformation Borbatusk has been acquired, Great Sage said as Naruto snarled at Circe. Circe's eyes shrunk into a pair of dots. Oh, not good. Not a piglet I want, she said as Naruto charged at her. Circe spread her wings and hovered above him. I think it's time for you to be disciplined, she said as she summons a staff to her side, only for Kurt to teleport behind her. Sorry if I get handsy, madam, he said as he grabbed her from behind. Let go! Get your hands off of me, Circe said before finding a black web on her chest. Get over here! Naruto shouted as he pulled her down. As this went on, more pigs appeared and started tearing up the place. Everyone realized that Circe may have done this before to many other people, further confirming the suspicions of everyone who was hesitant to accept Circe's seemingly gracious offer. including Panther Lily and Logan, who were very against the idea and were very angry that they were turned into pigs. Except it seemed that these pigs were only willing to listen to Circe and saw the group as hostiles. "Attack my piglets! Your queen is in danger!" Circe cried out as Naruto kept pulling her down. Suddenly more pigs appeared and were charged at everyone, causing most of them to get crushed by the stampede they had created. Logan snarled as being a pig was humiliating and annoyed him to no end. Panther Lily felt the same and was unable to enter his combat form. Regardless, the Exceed grabbed his sword with his mouth in an attempt to fight, while Logan already extended his claws again. "I'm making barbecue ribs out of them," Logan yelled. "Well, I'm making pork chops," Panther Lily yelled as the two would team up against the pigs. Some of the hobgoblins also got battle ready as they helped fight the pig army. Luckily they had better teamwork despite the loss of their true forms and battle capabilities. "I heard of green eggs and ham, but no eggs and ham?" Gobta asked. "No times for jokes, Gobta," Rigger said before all the hobgoblins jumped into battle with Kurt and Naruto. Kurt tried to knock the witch out. "Sorry, milady, normally I am not the type to grab onto a lady," he said. Circe sneered. "A gentleman willing to break his code is no gentleman at all," she said as she tried to break free of Kurt and Naruto. Kurt sighed. "I suppose you are right. My convictions did not stop my reckless behavior," he said before trying to squeeze her shoulder. "Oh. What was that for?" Circe asked. Kurt's sweat dropped. "I heard this would work in a novel," he said before Circe smacked him with her staff. Kurt hit the ground, allowing Circe to have more freedom, despite Naruto hanging onto her with his webbing. Circe used all her magic and put them into her wings to extend them, before taking off into the sky with Naruto hanging onto her. "Wee!" Naruto screams as his pig form was still active. "I'll save you, my friend!" Kurt exclaims as he teleports after Naruto. Sadly for Naruto, while Circe wasn't able to move around much due to Naruto's heavy weight. That and Circe wasn't going to abandon her little base of operations. After all, she wanted to add more pigs to her collection. With Wendy whimpered as she hid behind the dwarves and a couple of hobgoblins. It was impossible to say how many pigs Circe had picked up, to say the least. These things kept coming despite how weak they were compared to Panther Lily and Logan. "There is too much pork." "Where the hell do you get so much pork?" Logan asked as he kept cutting through the horde of pigs. Panther Lily started to pant. "I don't know, maybe she breeds them," he suggests. Guys, if Circe turned us into pigs, doesn't that mean she might have turned others as well?" Rigger asked. Logan growls. "Now you tell me," he asked, realizing he may have killed a random person. Panther Lily also got mad. "Damn it, Rigger. Why didn't you say something earlier?" he asked. Before Rigger could apologize, the many pigs that were surrounding them were all picked up in a giant tornado. Panther and Logan stabbed their blades into the ground as to hang on, while their allies were hanging on to something that was nailed to the ground. Logan looked up to see Ororo was flying in the air and manipulating the power of nature itself. "How are you human?" Logan asked. Ororo laughed as she knew Logan would get mad at her answer. "I took a long time to take small bites. So every time I wiped my mouth, I would hide the food in napkin," she explained. Logan muttered a few curses. "And you were the most cautious one here," he said. "Don't pout, Logan." Kurt also became suspicious, Ororo said as she unleashed her captured pigs and threw them at the rest of the pigs. It was rather hilarious considering the fact that Ororo made it look like she was throwing bowling balls as the other pigs collapsed like bowling pins. At least now Circe's army was starting to fall. As for Wendy, her body started to morph. "I'm going to ask Great Sage to help me find a way to cure everyone," she said as her body was fighting between being a pig and a slime. "Don't let up. There's still a few left," Gobta said as he prepared to defend Wendy. "Hey, where's Naruto?" Panther Lily asked. "And Kurt? Weren't they chasing after Circe?" Logan asked as he sniffed around, only to witness Naruto still hanging on to Circe while Kurt uses him like a wakeboard. "Never mind," Logan said as he saw those two still chasing after Circe, with Kurt and Naruto. Kurt gently rubbed Naruto's head. "I'm sorry for standing on you, my friend," he said. "Forget it, just knock her down already," Naruto ordered. Kurt nodded as he teleported to Circe again. This time he started pulling her down before noticing something odd about her body. Specifically her flight capabilities. Before Circe realized it, Kurt grabbed one of her wings with his tail and ripped it off. I knew these were fake, Kurt said as Circe lost control. Circe panicked as she started to descend rapidly before crashing into one of the buildings of her settlements. Kurt teleported off right on time before running in to find Naruto using all of his willpower to transform into his symbiote form. Although Kurt was rather unsettled by the sight of the creature that his new ally had transformed into. Naruto, what is this? Kurt asked nervously. I will explain later, Naruto said before another wave of pigs arrived. Circe twirled her staff around before slamming it onto the ground. I will deal with the crazy woman. You cover me by defeating those pigs, Naruto ordered. Kurt nodded. Right, I will be back shortly, he said as he engaged the pigs. Circe frowned. You ruined everything. Never have I met such ungrateful piglets. Haven't your parents taught you manners? She asked angrily, pointing her staff at Naruto. Naruto shook his head as his hand turned into an axe. I never knew my parents, he replied before lunging at Circe. Circe chose to ignore that depressing fact. Then proceeded to fire beams of light at Naruto, who dodged them perfect before swiping at her. Circe blocked the axe but had issues as she lacked the strength to keep up with the pressure, causing her to fall on her back after Naruto repeatedly bashed his axe hand onto the staff. Circe grunted as she tried to crawl away backwards. As Naruto changed his hands into the shape of hammers, Circe managed to block 2 hits as she stood up before taking a hit to the gut that sent her crashing into a wall. Ow! Don't you know it's rude to hit a lady? Circe asked angrily. Naruto snarled. I believe in everyone getting equal rights. It's hypocritical for one gender to get all the rights if the other gender loses it. Especially if you're the one who started the fight, he yelled as his sharpened teeth were revealed. Circe was frightened by the sight of the scary face Naruto's form made. So she lifted up her staff again and summoned a pig to launch at him. For some reason, it didn't hit Naruto like a projectile. Instead, it went straight into his mouth, which was wide open. Naruto's eyes briefly turned to normal. Did she just shove a pig in my mouth? He wondered. Circe's eyes were suddenly turned into dots as she was also surprised by what she did. You might want to chew that, she suggested. The two of them were silent for one moment. Then Naruto got angry. Konosuba OST tendon. Naruto tried to pull out the pig, but for some reason it squealed and started running fast. To the point it was actually trying to lodge itself deeper into Naruto's mouth, leaving Naruto with no way to pull it out as the fat creature refused to let him pull it out. Circe, for her part, started tiptoeing away. However, her large wedges made it impossible to move without making a lot of sound, causing Naruto to realize that she was escaping as the pig went deeper into his mouth. That bitch, Naruto thought as he extended his hand into a strange vine-like shape. Instead of grabbing her, he accidentally hit her butt. Are you whipping me? Circe screamed with a red face, only to look fearful as Naruto forcefully chowed on the pig until it was finally down his throat and in his stomach. Naruto let out a loud burp as a pig carcass came out of his mouth. Circe slowly turned 180 degrees before sprinting like a maniac. Help! Monster! Circe screamed. Naruto ran after her while continuing to swipe at her. At the same time, he kept hitting her in a way that made him very uncomfortable. The monster is whipping me, Circe yelled. I wouldn't be whipping you if just surrendered, Naruto yelled as he changed his hands into morning stars. Circe glared at Naruto. So rude, she yelled before Naruto slammed his spiked hand onto the ground. Circe screamed as the impact of the slam made the ground shake, causing her to fly into the air before Naruto webbed her up again. Circe started kicking and thrashing around as she tried to find a way to break free. Unfortunately, the moment she was bound to the web, she lost her grip of her staff. Goddess Hecate, save me now, Circe pleads towards the goddess of necromancy. Seeing no way to escape, Circe did her best to reach for an item she hid somewhere on her body. With enough effort, Circe dug a small hole in the webs and pulled out a golden cup filled with a strange poison. The witch then proceeded to dump all of its contents onto the floor just as Naruto dragged her towards him. Too late, Circe exclaimed as the liquid around them turned into a portal. What did you do? Naruto demanded as something came out of the portal. Circe smirked. Something that won't make Semiramis so special, she said as several demonic-looking creatures appeared from the portal. Naruto sighed. I don't have time for this. Rip out their throats, Baskerville, he yells as the demonic dog appeared. Circe's smirk remained the same, but she paled and started to sweat as all the eyes of Baskerville appeared, with the large dog snarling as it came out from the side of Naruto's body, before wrestling with the demonic beasts that Circe summoned, eventually overwhelming them into running back to their portal where Circe summoned them. Oh, you have dangerous familiars too? Circe asked. End of song. Circe laughed nervously. Today was a fun day. How about you untie me and I can present you with dessert? She asked. Naruto glared at Circe. You are going to be fixing everyone, he said angrily as Circe whimpered. Now let's go, he said, dragging her up to her feet. With everyone else, we... The last pig screamed as Logan kicked it away. We did it! Wendy exclaimed. Yeah, but that still leaves that witch who turned us into pigs, Panther Lily said. Luckily Kurt arrived just before Naruto did. Don't worry, we caught Miss Circe, Kurt said as Naruto raised the short woman high in the air. Good, now make her turn us back, Logan demanded. Circe looked away and didn't say or do anything, until Naruto started shaking her wildly until she became very dizzy. Once Circe's eyes stopped spinning, she took a deep breath and requested to be untied but wasn't free as Naruto kept a web restraint around her belly. I also need my staff, Circe said as Kurt teleported away, then reappeared with the staff. Here, no funny business, Kurt said, warning her. Circe nodded, after a few flashes of light. Everyone who was a pig returned to normal whereas her other pigs had disappeared. Okay, I'm sorry for tricking you, but I'm literally temptation incarnate. What do you want me to do? Circe asked. Suddenly Naruto towered over her with an axe-shaped hand. How about learning to be a better person? He asked with a dark aura surrounding him. Stop, big brother. Circe learned her lesson and now it's time for us to leave, Wendy said as she returned to her adorable little self. Naruto sighed as he reverted to his human form as well. Fine, everyone pack up and take anything that Circe hasn't poisoned or laced with pig magic, he said. Circe pouted. So mean, I was a good host and now you're leaving after making a mess, she said. She sighed as she tugged on the web. Okay, have a safe trip, she said before being webbed up again. Don't think you're staying behind and doing this again, Naruto said as he lifted her into his arms. Circe blushed. She asked. Logan nodded. He's right, the lady is just going to keep doing this to people, he said. Wendy also understood. Circe won't learn if she keeps repeating her mistakes, she said. Circe looked scared. You're kidnapping me, she asked as Naruto placed web over her mouth. No, we're making a citizen's arrest, Naruto said before everyone got ready. Circe whimpered as she was carried away and taken back to the village. A few days later, Rigard smiled as he saw people coming from the forest. Hello everyone. How was? He stopped as he noticed everyone's condition. We brought back some help and guests, Rigard, Wendy answered happily. We also have a chef who promises not to turn anyone into pigs, Naruto said, glaring at Circe who felt nervous under his gaze. I said I was sorry, Circe whispered. Rigard's sweat dropped. I see. Anyways, welcome to the village. I see we all have some work to do, he said as the dwarves looked happy and Logan's group looked ready to help. Then Wendy noticed something. Rigard, did we have so many goblins in the village before we left? She asked as she noticed a large amount of goblins behind Rigard. Rigard chuckled as he started flexing. Oh yeah, I was going to mention that while you were all gone. Many others have heard of the greatness of Lady Wendy and Lord Naruto. Now they wish to join our settlement as well, he said with pride. Naruto's sweat dropped. We are not going to be able to handle this many goblins, he thought. How many want to join us, Dad? Rigard asked. About 500 or so, Rigard answered, not caring about population control. Wendy, I don't think. Naruto tried to say something when Wendy spoke up. Everyone get into a single line, please, Wendy said, preparing to name everyone. A few months later, once again, Wendy was forced into resting 3 days again from naming all the new goblins. At least now with all the extra hands and need for homes. The village, now named Tempest, was officially rebuilding with new huts as homes. Naruto used a lot of chakra to make clones to add to the labor force, and studied alongside some of the goblins who were listening to Kaijin and the brothers, all of them teaching skills ranging from blacksmithing to building construction. Aside from a few more homes and roads being built, clothes were also being made. They weren't exactly luxurious like they were in some royal capital, but everyone can stay cool and warm. Although it's revealed that the symbiote that Naruto became can let him mimic clothes. The Jinchuriki doesn't exactly feel comfortable as it made him feel naked. So Naruto was first in line to request clothes after explicitly explaining his distaste for running around naked. On to some other news. Queen Shigat's child, now named Carla, was hanging around Wendy. Apparently the little Exceed developed the ability to transform into a human with cat ears and a tail. Most likely a new ability among others thanks to Wendy naming her like she did the other goblins. That, and apparently she thought it was her mission to eliminate dragon slayers, which almost made Naruto sick Baskerville on her. Ironically, this was brought up by Queen Shigat, who explained that little detail she conveniently forgot to mention, as she wasn't aware that Wendy was a dragon slayer until she mentioned it. The explanation itself. It was a lie. Queen Shigat said that day. Apparently everyone came from a place called Idolos, where despite what the queen and the elderly advisors told everyone, the Exceeds altogether are very weak despite having magic. Mainly because unless you're Panther Lily or have similar abilities as him, Exceeds lack any real strength, and their only magic is arrow. Wind magic that basically lets them fly around, and that was it. They can carry one person at a time, and some know how to wave swords, but still lack real combat abilities. So Queen Shigat sent a lot of unborn Exceeds to the other realm, they assumed to be on this continent, in case humans from Idolos decided to fight back. As most humans praise Exceeds, but knew someday that they could just fight back and likely win. So it was less than an invasion and more of an evacuation plan. So please do not send your dog to kill my daughter, Queen Shigat pleaded. Ironically, Naruto would treat Baskerville like a pet, which scared everyone because the gigantic monster dog found itself attached to Naruto as close friend and a pet and master sort of relationship. So it was weird to see the two play ball together. But do you know who wasn't playing ball? Circe. Circe was punished and bound to a cage and threatened to be put into a kennel if she tried feeding anyone her cooking if it turned people into pigs. Which she tried at least once before the kennel was built. Now the witch was under constant watch and threat of being locked up like a dog if she did it again. Some did suggest exiling Circe, but Naruto and Wendy were against it. Not because they cared, but because they were afraid Circe would keep turning people into pigs again. Any happiness Circe felt was suddenly gone. She really thought everyone forgave her and cared about her as a person. I thought you cared, Circe screamed that day as she sobbed onto Naruto's chest. Somehow all the tears gave him low resistance against water. It makes Naruto wonder how weak he became when he turned into a monster. However, the least of their concerns is Circe crying and banging her arms onto Naruto's chest. Today, Circe still cried, "Am I that bad of a witch?" she asked. Naruto's sweat dropped, "Pretty much," he said bluntly. "So mean," Circe whined as she banged her fists onto Naruto again. As mentioned, Circe whining about her abuse or lack of love wasn't the problem. It was the sudden presence of a large creature that was flying in the sky, with everyone hanging on as the wings of the creature created large waves of wind that sent them flying. "Is that a bird?" Naruto asked as he looked up at the sky. Though feathery, it was not a bird, Grandini, Wendy asked as she ran towards the dragon. The dragon itself looked at Wendy as it descended down and landed. Wendy's excitement blinded her until she came too close and noticed the design of the dragon. Unlike Grandini, this dragon had a different shaped head and horns on the side of its head. Grandini had no horns and her scales looked like feathers, but they were real scales. Unlike the greenish-looking dragon, Grandini herself had a more silver design and was a lot bigger according to Wendy's memory. "You're not Grandini," Wendy said, now sounding sad. "Wendy, get away from it," Carla yelled. However, the dragon didn't attack Wendy, nor did it perceive her as a threat. Instead, it was surrounded by a bright silver flash before shrinking down into a girl around Wendy's size, with silver hair and purple highlights, blue slitted eyes, and the overall appearance of a small child. The girl also didn't look happy as she pointed at Wendy. "I smell Grandini on you. Give her back now, the girl demanded. You know my mama? Wendy asked. I, mama? The girl asked, sounding confused. Yeah, Grandini raised me since I was a baby. Do you know where she is? Wendy asked, sounding hopeful. The girl's confidence fell apart. No, I was hoping she was with you, she said, sounding sad. Then Naruto arrived. Wendy, what is going on? He asked. Later, Naruto and Wendy shared house. Due to being close, Wendy doesn't like sleeping away from her brother figure. So she shares the same home and often sleeps in the same bed to stay warm. With that, Wendy invited the little girl to their shared house to explain herself. So your name is Kana? Naruto asked as he gave both girls a cup of tea. Kana nodded. I was looking for my big sister Granini, but I lost her. So I smelled her on Wendy and thought she stole her, she said. Wendy looked sad. I'm sorry, Kana, but I haven't seen Mama for over a year. Big brother and I have tried looking for her but haven't found anything, she replied. Wendy slumped down at the table. Sorry for accusing you, Wendy, she said so apologetically. It's okay, Kana, Wendy said, making Kana smile. Hey, if you've been looking for your sister, where have you been staying? Naruto asked before hearing Kana's stomach grumble. Nowhere then? He asked, seeing Kana blush. I see. If you want, you can stay here until we find Grandini, Naruto said as Kana perked up. Can I? Kana asked. Yes. You can be my big sister, Wendy said, hugging Kana. Wendy, that would actually make Kana your aunt, Naruto said, correcting her. Sister. Both girls ignored Naruto and his technicalities as the two planned out their stay at the hut. Circe came in with a few pigs to deliver food. I think it's time to celebrate with a great meal. Who wants to go first? Circe asked, seemingly too excited. Not me, Kana spoke up quickly. Kana glared at Circe, who looked nervous. It smells like nasty potions. She's probably trying to poison us, she said, pointing at Circe accusingly. Circe panicked. I am doing no such thing, she said nervously. Kana glared harder at her. Lies, she yelled. Then Naruto got in front of Circe's face. You were planning on turning us into pigs, weren't you? He asked as his eyes twitched. Circe blushed as she tried to step back. Of course not. In fact, I need to do some shopping after. Naruto grabbed her by the arm. You are not going anywhere, Naruto said, making her nervous. Then he got this creepy smile on his face. In fact, I think you should try your own cooking, he said as Circe paled. Please no, Circe whispered. Naruto grabbed a plate and lifted Circe over his shoulder. No can do. I think it's about time you learn how it feels, he told her. Circe tried to kick her way out. I don't want it. Please let me go, she pleaded. I'll be right back, Naruto said before locking himself and Circe in the next room over. Kana and Wendy looked at each other as they heard the door lock. What do you think is going to happen? Kana asked. Wendy giggled. Circe is getting punished again, she answered, only to confuse Kana. The next morning, with Naruto, Naruto sighed as he wandered the forest. He left Kana and Wendy to go explore the forest while he decided to take a look around, mainly to see if he could get some training in with any monster that's getting too close to the village. That or any moron that can't properly prepare themselves for the dangers of the forest. So with that, Naruto walked down the forest with his hands in his pockets. He was traveling pretty far, and he didn't have his own assigned Tempest Wolf. Sure, Ranga was very loyal to him, but he was Wendy's familiar, and thus he was assigned to hide in her shadow until called upon. Naruto decided to travel on his own since he at least had his Borbatusk form he gained from eating that meal Circe gave him. Although originally meant to turn him into a pig, it made him into a mutant warthog with more fighting capability than a normal pig. Maybe I can travel in that form, Naruto said to himself before confirming the skill. Transform, Borbatusk, he said as he transformed into the armored warthog and ran aimlessly out one direction. About a half hour later, Naruto transformed back to normal. That's enough. I wonder if there's anything. He stopped mid-sentence. Naruto's eyes widened as his spider sense went haywire. What the heck is that? He asked. Answer. There is a large fire and signs of hostility within the area. Great Sage answered. What? Great Sage, can you point me where? Someone could need my help. Naruto exclaimed as he ran the moment Great Sage started to guide him. A few minutes later, a blue-haired little girl ran out of her home in fright. When she looked around for her family, she was instead greeted with the sight of sheer terror. Her home village was being burned to the ground and she could hear the sounds of screaming in the distance. The child tried to call out to her parents to no avail, with no one being able to hear her except for a cloaked figure. "Looks like one of them survived," said the man in a sadistic tone. "Stay away from me," the girl yelled, just as the man was about to bring down his knife and kill the little girl. A similar-looking little girl with pink hair arrived and killed the man with wind magic by slicing his throat. "Ram!" the blue-haired girl called out. "Ram, we need to get out. People are attacking the village," Ram told her sister before suddenly another man got the drop on them. Ram attempted to push the aggressor away, only for it to be too late as the attacker cut off the horn on her forehead and knocked her down. Ram cradled her sister's body as she fell, before giving into despair as the crazed man was about to kill both her and her sister. "Say goodbye, demon," the attacker said. Squelch. The attacker let out a loud gasp as he saw a crimson tendril go through his stomach. He started to hyperventilate as the tendril lifted him from the ground. Before he realized it, his whole body was repeatedly stabbed by more tendrils before he was consumed by the crimson mass. "I'm sorry you had to see that," said a solemn voice. "Who's there?" Rem asked nervously. Naruto revealed himself in his partially transformed body. "I'm Naruto, are you two okay?" he asked as his arms went back to normal. "My parents and everyone else. They're under attack," Rem said before the fires started to spread. Naruto's spider senses kicked in as he saw more hooded men. "You bastards! How could you attack a random village?" he snarled. "We do it in service to the Witches' Alliance," one said gleefully. "Summon the greater demon. We can finish the heathen and the rest of them off," another said before a magic circle appeared in the middle of the group. The whole village started to shake as Rem held Ram tightly in her arms. Naruto applied chakra to his feet to keep his balance, as he felt these cult-like people summoned something big. Before the three realized it, a gigantic ferocious creature with the appearance of a dinosaur appeared. The creature let out a loud snarl that alone made everyone almost collapse from the killing intent the creature flared. Naruto started to sweat as he never felt this afraid since Gaara transformed into the Ichibi during the Chunin exams. And back then, I had Boss Toad to help me out. Naruto thought fearfully. "Get them! For the glory of Chomp!" The beast lifted up one of the witch followers and started chewing on his body before fully devouring him. "You stupid beast! We are your masters and we command you to." The man was silenced as the beast ate all of them one by one, before eventually making its way past the fires and killing everything that stood in its way, as it could not find any satisfaction without devouring everything in sight and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Naruto knew this was the best time to run. It was pathetic, but was the point? What good would it do to barely slow down a giant monster that can casually annihilate anything in its vision? Especially with how little experience Naruto has in fighting large demonic creatures. The only thing he fought remotely close to that thing's level was Baskerville. Yet he only beat it by surprising it with killing intent and devouring it when its guard was down. That was a giant dragon-like creature, and it was more ready to spread the fear than to feel fear itself. Sniffle. Yet it was the teary eyes of Rem that Naruto saw that made him stay. He knew the little girl wanted to see her family and neighbors again, to return to the life she had before these twisted maniacs attacked her home and summoned that demon. Naruto gritted his teeth and curled his fists before running into the fire. "Go hide somewhere. I'll stop the monster," Naruto shouted as Rem nodded and slowly carried Ram away from the destruction. Inside the village, Naruto groaned. "I wasn't cut out for this." Sure, the shinobi life was as scary as Zabuza said, but I don't think he mentioned anything about monsters. He said before hearing the monster's roar. Naruto shivered as he could feel its stomps. A single step by that thing and it felt like an earthquake had the entire forest. This was probably the most terrifying thing, whether or not Shikaku is stronger than this thing. Naruto was sure he would be ripped apart unless he came up with some brand new game plan. "Reiwa!" the beast screamed. Naruto groaned. "I guess if there's someone that has to do something crazy, it's always me," he said before summoning 4 shadow clones to his side. Naruto signaled for one of the clones to get into visual range of the beast, while the real Naruto and the rest of the clones took their positions to attack the beast. At this point, Naruto was glad he at least obtained skills from fighting those monsters in the recent past. It was kind of funny though, while Sasuke could copy jutsus with his dojutsu, Naruto actually had to get into fights with dangerous creatures with Wendy and practice them. With that in mind, Naruto gained some more confidence in fighting this creature. "Hey ugly!" the clone yelled. The beast snarled as it turned to face the clone. "You so ugly you made an onion cry," he said. Naruto silently chuckled. "I gotta thank Great Sage for the quip's skill," he thought. The beast snarled. "You so dumb, I heard you went to a store to return a puzzle because it was broken," the clone added. "Boss, this is not helping," another clone whispered. "Fine, just hit once that dinosaur or whatever it is attacks," Naruto told it. The clones nodded as the main clone said another insult. "You're so fat. When everyone looks up they say, that's no moon, that you." "Ha," he said before screaming as the beast chewed him up. "Now!" Naruto shouted as every clone tapped into a skill. Fireball, Water Whip, Black Lightning, Rasengan. The beast howled in pain before slapping everyone away with its tail. Naruto grunted in pain before being grabbed by the beast's jaws. Naruto turned his hands into axes before proceeding to stab the beast on the snout, though it only made the creature snarl loudly before dragging him closer into its mouth. "Why eat me? Does it serve you any purpose?" Naruto asked angrily as he kept stabbing the creature. "Roar!" the creature roared. "Crap, Shadow Clone Jutsu!" Naruto called out as more clones appeared. "Hold this thing down," he ordered. "Got it, boss!" The clones yelled as they transformed into symbiotes. The symbiote clones proceeded to wrap the beast in black webbing. As the beast struggled to break free, the clones pulled down on the webs to get a better hold of it. Although this was only a temporary solution as the beast broke free of the webs and clawed at the clones. Naruto groaned as he was running out of ideas and feels nothing but sheer pain. "I can't die like this. Why did I do this? Why do I always try to be the good guy?" Naruto wondered as he tried clawing at the monster. Naruto started to feel fatigue over the pain as he slowly slid into the monster's mouth. With the last bit of effort, he tried to extend his symbiote form as to keep himself from being eaten. One trick he tried was using both hands to be manipulated into lifting the beast's mouth open like an floor jack lifting up a car. Although this only slowed down the beast by a moment, Naruto tried to get some help. Summoning Baskerville, Naruto called out as his canine partner appeared from the side of his face. Despite the sheer size of its opponent, Baskerville snarled as bit down on the beast's snout, making it roar in pain as Naruto managed to slip out in time. Unfortunately, it appeared that Baskerville wouldn't last so long as he was being kicked around by the bigger beast. Naruto growled back as he grew attached to Baskerville despite the fact that the demonic canine was literally nightmare fuel incarnate. So with another war cry, Naruto created an army of shadow clones to attack the beast again. Rasengan Barrage! Naruto shouted as all his clones collided onto the beast. Baskerville let out a bark. "Come on, buddy. I'm probably some bipolar crazy idiot, but I can't handle seeing little girls or puppies cry," he said as the dog barked again and bit down on the beast's neck. The beast eventually stood up and shook Baskerville away before using its tail to destroy the clones. However, that didn't stop Naruto from landing one last attack over its head. "I'm gonna get hurt from this, but..." Black Lightning Rasengan! Naruto shouted as he combined one of his skills with his jutsu, creating a very strong but unstable technique that crashed down onto the beast's head. The beast crashed back onto the ground and with more effort. Naruto used a lot of webbing to tie down the beast again. Seeing what his master was doing, Baskerville helped keep it down to the best of his ability until Naruto entered his slime-like form to cover the large creature. "This is the end. Carnivore!" Naruto yelled out as his entire body covered the beast as it roared. However, Naruto fell back as he could feel it resisting. Naruto once again struggled with the beast as Baskerville was lifted up by the beast's jaw and slowly being chewed on, with Naruto himself being forced to recall his familiar as to keep him safe. "Damn! What can I do? This thing can take so many hits and get back like they're nothing," Naruto thought as he tried putting more energy to devouring the beast again. when suddenly his head started throbbing, giving him a migraine of unimaginable pain that he could not endure. Overlord OS the arrival of the undead king. Foolish child, a mongrel is a mongrel regardless of its size and ferocity. Do you lack the motivation to defeat it? Or are you just pathetic? Asked a powerful voice in Naruto's mind. My head hurts. What is this? Naruto wondered as he almost fell off of the beast when Great Sage spoke. Suggestion. With a 18% chance of success. You could attempt to capture the beast with Poacher. Great Sage suggested. How am I going to do that when it won't let me eat him? Naruto asked back as he tried wrapping his body around the beast's throat. Answer. Capturing the beast may be easier as it would be disoriented and contained now that it has taken damage. Although it would require more effort on your part as the damage is insufficient. Great Sage explained as Naruto sighed. Fine. Poacher! Naruto yelled as his body started surrounding the roaring beast again, as the beast raged on and even started throwing itself around to prevent its capture. Naruto let out another war cry as he used every bit of energy to hold it down. Gra! Naruto screams as he struggles to contain the beast. Rawr! The beast screams back as it's fully contained by Naruto's symbiote body. I will beat you! No one will ever summon you to hurt people ever again! Naruto shouted as the fires around the village surrounded the two. Eventually, the beast gave in as Naruto trapped him. I did it. I am Naruto Uzumaki. Co-ruler of Tempest. Destroyer of evil. He shouted before shrinking back down and hitting the ground. Naruto groaned as he felt exhausted trying to fight that monster. Before noticing the wildfires were getting out of control. Great Sage, by chance can you detect anyone still alive in the fire? Naruto asked nervously. Answer. Only the two Oni you left to pursue your new familiar, Gaara. No other threats or friendly individuals detected. Great Sage answered. Naruto sighed. I better get those girls out of here. Just help me find them for now, he said as he looked for a way around the fire. Maybe find a stream of water to help put this out, he added. A few minutes later, Rem was silently crying as she hid somewhere in the woods while cradling her injured sister. The blue-haired Oni was terrified of those strange men in hoods and was in fear of the lives of her parents and fellow villagers. So when Naruto went after the beast, she made it her personal mission to hide and keep Ram safe until the danger was gone. Hey little miss, said a voice. Ah! Ram screamed in fear. Hey, calm down! It's me, Naruto said, revealing himself. Don't worry, the monster is gone. But I can't say the opposite for everyone else, Naruto said as tears swelled up in Rem's eyes. Before he realized it, Rem started to weep from hearing the bad news. Naruto kneeled down and embraced the two girls, just letting Rem cry her heart out at the loss of her family and home, while at the same time Naruto made sure Rem didn't fall onto the ground. I'm sorry, was all Naruto could say to the young girl. About an hour later, Rem was sniffling as she cleared her eyes. It's okay if you still want to cry, Remington, Naruto said. Rem shook her head. No, it's fine, mister. I think I cried enough, but it still hurts, she said. Naruto gave Rem's hand a light squeeze. I know it's going to always hurt, Rem, but you still have your sister Rem here, he said as he carried the unconscious Rem in his other arm. So you won't be totally alone, but I don't want you to think of Tempest as a replacement of your old home. Just think of it as something new to try. I wouldn't feel too good if I left the two of you alone, he said with a bright smile. Rem smiled back as she grabbed Naruto's hand with her two arms. What's your village like, Naruto? She asked. Naruto pondered on it. Well, we have good people, fun people, crazy people, and then there's Circe. She makes good food, but don't always trust her. She might turn you into a pig, he said, earning a surprised look. He then whispered into Rem's ear. Tell me if she tries anything. Circe knows who's boss, he said, making Rem giggle. Is there anyone Ram and I can be friends with? Rem asked. Naruto chuckled. There's definitely Wendy, and this girl named Kanna decided to join us, he said, making Rem feel optimistic. Later that night, Wendy looked worried. When is Big Brother coming back? She asked. Rigard sighed. I don't know, it's not like him to just wander off this long, he said, also sounding worried. Carla crossed her arms. He's being foolish. We should send someone to look for him before he runs into trouble. After a few more minutes, Naruto appeared while carrying both Rem and Ram in his arms. Everyone was about to call out for him when he gestured for them to be silent as both girls were still at rest, which did earn a lot of curiosity from everyone that was waiting for him. What happened? Wendy whispered as she noticed the girls. Naruto sighed. I think we need an emergency meeting, he said. At the meeting, after placing the twins in a warm bed under some supervision, Naruto sat at the end of a table in a makeshift meeting room, where he deciphered the massacre of the Rem and Ram's home. I was late when I got there. I was just minding my own business exploring when Great Sage warned me about a nearby danger. So I found these hooded guys trying to kill Rem and her sister until I stopped them, Naruto said, shocking the group. They weren't that tough, but then they summoned this big dinosaur thing called Gamara. I barely managed to trap it way after it attacked those cult-looking guys, he explained. Rigard closed his eyes and crossed his arms. This is concerning. Now that Veldora's presence is gone, that probably leaves all sorts of creatures trying to fight for dominance. Maybe even the humans too, he said. Wendy frowned as she heard Great Sage tell her something similar. With Veldora gone, all sorts of monsters are fighting, only giving her a reason to work on building up the village to be bigger and ready for the worst-case scenarios. I think we need to start training and building up our force. I don't want to sound like a crazy war guy, but I'm saying a bunch of crazy guys summoning something that beat the crap out of Baskerville isn't a joke, Naruto said as the others agreed. Queen Shigat spoke up next. I agree, now that my people see how frail we really are. This will only encourage everyone to step up, she said. Panther Lily is also one of our best. I'm sure we can convince him and the other guards to lead the way, she added. Good, because honestly, I swear I could have been killed by Gamara's roars, Naruto said, making some of them feel nervous. But you beat it right, big brother? You can even teach Gamara to be friendly like Baskerville, Wendy said optimistically. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I still had enough strength in the end to beat it. Although it took a real beating and Great Sage's guidance to keep it down, he said. Then it's settled. We train first and investigate later, Wendy exclaimed. This meeting is adjourned then, Rigard said as everyone got up and left. Hey Wendy, do you mind helping me welcome Rem and Ram? Naruto asked as Wendy nodded happily. The next day, Rem and Ram gazed at Naruto curiously. Rem felt some admiration for her savior, while Ram was very distrustful of Naruto, the latter feeling so as she was unconscious until late last night when she woke up in a room with Rem. Ram is a very intelligent girl, probably having been very intelligent since birth, as it was obvious that things didn't sound right for her. For a stranger to come out of nowhere to defeat the people who destroyed her home, and Rem was pretty naive and innocent, so Ram naturally felt protective of her sister and distrustful of others. Especially now that she lost her horn, the source of most of her amazing power. What are you doing, Mr. Naruto? Rem asked. Well, first, just call me Naruto. Second, I'm working on a trap, Naruto said as he had a bunch of tools and other junk put together. For the cloaked men? Rem asked. That and maybe a sea bear, Naruto said, making the blue-haired child giggle. And how long are we supposed to stay here? Ram suddenly asked in a serious voice. Rem said with a surprised face. We can't stay here, Remington. You know that very well, Ram said in a condescending tone. Before looking at Naruto again. Well? She asked. Naruto sighed. Well, if what Rem says is true, I wouldn't recommend leaving at all. With your horn gone, your power is gone with it too unless you train. There's a lot of dangerous creatures out there, and you're lucky most of them are weaker than Gamara, he explained. Only Ram glared harder. You may be right, but don't think you can keep us here, she said. Naruto's sweat dropped at the hostility. I'm not. Geez, learn to relax a bit. You're not the only one to wake up homeless and missing your parents, he said briefly, surprising Ram, while Ram also felt bad. Anyways, you should stick together and only approach the adults like Rigard if you still feel nervous about the town. There's also Wendy, since she's helped me set this village up, he said before moving on to another part of the emergency traps. As Naruto moved farther away, Rem and Ram silently conversed. As a way to talk about their current living adjustment as their home is gone, I still don't trust him, Remington Ram told her sister. Sister Ram, I understand how you feel, but you weren't conscious to witness what happened. Rem said. Well, I apologize if I find it hard to believe, Remington. You are the more sensitive as well as naive, Ram said as she was honest with Rem. Rem knew her sister didn't mean to demean her. Ram, I also understand your rationality. However, I believe you are too deep in denial, she said, also being honest. For the first time, the sisters were at odds with each other. However, before this discussion could continue, they were all caught off guard by the sounds of screaming in the nearby forest. Suddenly the two girls clasped hands with each other, as if to show fear. If Naruto saw this, he would likely be distracted by how adorable they looked despite the potential dangers nearby. What was that? Rem asked. No doubt something dangerous heading here, Ram said as she saw Naruto drop everything to run towards the forest. You two stay there. I'm going to check it out, Naruto yelled as he ran towards the forest. In forest, how do we end up in these situations? Yelled a female named Eren. Blame Kavul. He's the one that stabbed giant ant nests. One of the males, Jido, exclaimed. Just shut up and keep running. Also, show your leader some respect, damn it, Kavul yelled as he referred to himself as the party's leader. From what can be understood, this party of 4 adventurers were traveling through the forest when Kavul stabbed a giant ant nest. Now these 4 were running for their lives as a group of giant red ants were chasing after them. Unless the giant insects found an interest in daily exercises, they were most likely angry at the group for attacking their home. You lost my respect. If I die, I'm going to haunt you, Eren yelled. Kavul laughed like a maniac. Ha ha ha. That won't be possible because I'm going to be dead with you, he yelled as the ants got closer. Meanwhile, their 4th member, a masked woman named Shizu, was having second thoughts about requesting to join this group. However, that wasn't something she would have to focus on as it was her time to kill the ants. Shizu stopped in place and drew her sword, which emitted a powerful flame. Shizu, what are you doing? Kavul asked very frantically. Shizu remained silent as she raised her sword and aimed the blunt end at the ants. Before a powerful gust of flames incinerated the first wave of ants. With the damage done, the next wave ran at Shizu, lacking any fear of death. Good for them, as Shizu revealed even more greater skills by jumping high into the air. Expertly using her sword techniques, Shizu landed quick cuts upon each ant with a small trail of flames following every cut she left. While small and seemingly meaningless, Shizu's strikes invoked large explosions, with each one going off every time Shizu landed a blow to the ant following the previous ones. Eren and the rest of her party watched in awe at the amazing skills of Shizu, some of them watching with envy as they assumed the masked adventurer to be some amateur. Instead, they felt like amateurs seeing Shizu defeat each ant, except for one. As Shizu stabbed one ant in the head, she turned to face another ant who remained fearless. Just as Shizu prepared to cut down this one, she grunted as she felt her whole body feel as if it were in mortal pain. Someone do something, Eren yelled out, when suddenly, the ant itself was destroyed in a brilliant blaze of black lightning. Was that magic? Jido asked. It looked like black lightning, Kavul said as Eren ran to Shizu's side. Hey, are you okay? Eren asked as Shizu grunted before realizing her mask fell off. Big brother Naruto was right. I should practice that magic some more, Wendy said as she revealed herself in slime form. A slime? I never seen one talk before, Jido said with a surprised face. Wendy looked around before noticing a mask was on her face. She looked at Shizu before approaching her with the mask. Here you go, miss, I think this is yours, Wendy said as she handed over the mask. Shizu smiled as she accepted it back. Thank you, she said gratefully. Wendy reverted to her human form. You're welcome, she chirped. Shizu crawled back in surprise. You're human? She asked. Wendy giggled. I became a slime, but I don't know how. Although if you think I'm weird, I was raised by Grandini, a sky dragon, she answered, making Shizu and Eren giggle. Hey kid, what are you doing out here alone? Jido asked. Wendy looked at him curiously. I'm not alone. My home is nearby and Big Brother would run to my side if anything happened, she said. So where is your big brother? Eren asked before something landed near them. There he is, Wendy said, pointing at the individual. Only it was Naruto, and he was full symbiote. To be specific, he was in the form where his body became more muscular, his sharpened teeth and long tongue sticking out, and his hands were in the shape of axes and spears. He even let out a wild roar that would intimidate most wild animals. "Who's causing trouble? I'll chop you all up real good and add you to the stew," Naruto yelled in his darkened voice. "Ah!" Everyone minus Wendy screamed in terror. "Big brother, you're doing it again," Wendy said as Naruto noticed that he terrified a bunch of strangers. Naruto groaned. "Oops, my bad," he said. When he decided to reveal his real face under the mouth, "Hey guys, sorry about the scare," he said, making Eren pass out from fear. "You made it worse," Wendy said, making her adoptive brother groan again. "Is not a bad time to present Baskerville?" Naruto asked. A while later, Naruto hanged his head in shame. "I'm a bad person. I've come to this island and only done bad things," he said as Rigard patted his back. "I'm an alcoholic, I have anger issues, and now I put some poor girl in a coma. The only thing I did right was raise Wendy," he said as he cried anime tears. "At least you admitted your mistakes," Rigard said, hoping to make his leader feel better. "Oh hush. That girl is fine. If anything, she and the rest of her troop were merely starving," Carla said with crossed arms. "I still knocked someone out," Naruto said sadly. "That part is correct, so at least you're learning," Carla said dismissively. Then Naruto realized something. "Carla, by chance do you know who made that food?" he asked with a fearful expression. Inside, Circe smiled as she set down the plates with the help of Rem and Ram. "Thank you, girls. You're so helpful in the kitchen. Especially you, Remington," she said. Rem blushed. "Thank you, Miss Circe, but Ram did all the work," she said, trying to be modest. "No, you helped a lot, literally," Circe said, giving Ram a brief glance. "Enjoy your meals," Ram said, ignoring Circe. "Thank you," Eren, Jido and Kavil said. Circe looked around for a moment. "Weren't there 4 of you?" she asked. Ram answered for them. "I believe the one named Shiza said, 'Circe, if anyone turned into pigs, I'm going to add someone to the stew,'" Naruto shouted as he ran inside the tent in full symbiote form again, while waving his axe hand around. "Ah!" The party screamed again before they started choking. "I did no such thing. Not this time, at least," Circe said while blushing at the last part. Naruto's sweat dropped as he realized what he did. "I am a terrible host," he said. "I'm impressed. You just pointed out your own flaw and realized it," Ram said bluntly. "Ram," Rem said. Naruto groaned as he turned human again. "I need an intervention," he said before noticing Kavil turn into a pig. "What the hell is this?" Kavil asked. Naruto glared at Circe, who gave a nervous smile. She then paled as Naruto cracked his knuckles and quickly lifted her over his shoulders. "No! I don't want to be punished again!" Circe cried out. "Then stop repeating your mistakes," Naruto exclaimed as he took Circe away again. "Sister, what do you think he will do?" Rem asked. "Clearly nothing if Miss Circe constantly turns people into pigs," Rem replied. "Could someone help me out here?" Kavil asked in a panicked voice while Eren and Jido pushed their food aside. Suddenly Ororo and Kurt arrived with a first aid kit. "Do not worry, we've dealt with this far too many times," Ororo said as she prepared to administer the cure. Elsewhere, Wendy listened to Shizu's stories about her home in Japan and her basic story of her life upon arrival. "Do you ever miss your home or anyone from there, Shizu-san?" she asked. Shizu smiled. "I guess I do, but I learned to cope, Wendy." "But what about you? Aren't you and Kana trying to find your mother?" she asked. Wendy nodded. "Yes, but sometimes I worry about why Grandini left me and Kana alone," she said. Shizu gently stroked Wendy's hair. "It sounds tough, but I know your mother has a reason for leaving you. Even if it's temporary. If she loves you with all her heart, you will see her again," she said, making Wendy feel better. Then Kana arrived. "Wendy, are we gonna play yet?" she asked. "In a minute, Kana, and actually," Wendy said before looking at Shizu again. "What?" Shizu asked curiously. A few minutes later, Kana turned into a dragon as per Wendy's suggestion. Right before dragging Shizu onto her back and having Kana ride around in the sky. "Whoa!" Shizu shouted as she hanged onto Kana's fur for dear life. "Ha ha! You get used to it, Shiza-san, Wendy exclaimed. I've seen a lot of mystical creatures, but I've never ridden on one. Especially a dragon of all things. Shizu said with surprise and slight fear in her voice. Just hang on, Shizu. Then just look down and see how pretty the world is, Kana said before introducing the horizons. Shizu watched on with surprise. It really is pretty, and your village. I can imagine how much potential it has to grow, she said, and that's why it's my home. I'm going to build it and protect it with my friends and family, Shizu-san, Wendy said, making herself promise as the two rode around in the sky on Kana's back. Kana herself smiled at the state of the village and the forest, all the while wondering if Grandini is somehow watching her from afar. Thanks for watching this video. You really enjoy this video. Like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow our Zero Tacit for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video.